that just coming online has been sort of playing in that kitchen position. Burris might have got more than he
Ternyata
bargained
Killjoy
for,
lurk
and he
loh.
still makes it work.
See, this was something we wanted to talk about going into the match, was the fact that in the press conference, Murs went, you know what? I'm not going to be changing my role. MW0, he's going to come in. He's going to be the one changing.
Wow.
I'm sticking to everything I was doing before.
Oh, kita nggak
That was a
sinkron nih.
lie.
Iya, nggak sinkron ya?
Because he
Refresh
is
dong lu.
definitely conscious agent for this. What is he
Gua
doing?
duluan
Playing
tahu,
Arena
lu
and
belakang.
gone on to the
Tapi
kill
dari
drone. I'm going
reaksinya
to say
sih.
for now, it doesn't look like
Oh
he
iya,
needed
gua
the defense because he
refresh
just
ya.
killed the majority of the enemy.
Gue mau coba live. Mumpung nggak berat, cuma nonton doang.
Oh, live di ini, live
Di YouTube iya. Mumpung nggak berat,
gue nonton.
nggak usah nonton sendiri aja.
Ntar
Nanti
komentar gue nggak nyambung sama
iya,
lu.
iya. Hah? Oh gitu.
Oh, gue
Jangan gue delay, jangan ntar gue delay.
Oh,
Iya, nggak usah, nggak apa-apa.
Although the compositions are nigh on mirrored, this is one of the different.
Sekarang enak loh di IG story kita bisa ini share link. Jadi
aku udah buat stream lu.
Iya, enak sekarang.
I guess he does have the frenzy, obviously has that dash in that he could use, close the distance, but he's going to win out that up battle. Wants to get a bit more confidence is going to be an important thing for both of these players when it comes to getting these operator kills. I think naturally Heat's going to have that advantage on the defense because the defensive op is incredibly strong.
Yeah, the only thing I will say though is I feel like with CNED, I
Actually,
actually enjoy
atas,
watching
atas,
his
atas.
attacking operator more on this map, but just because it's him.
Yeah.
I feel like in 99.9% of cases I'd agree with you, but just because it's CNED, I'm gonna wholeheartedly disagree. But a 4 versus 4, Bone Cold has managed to find one back, but the time is ticking. And a pretty good position for Joe to try and at least do a little bit of extra damage. He's just going to fall back, not opting to take too many risks here. And MW0, well, he's doing a lot of damage. They're going to get themselves the plant. It's not too bad for Ascend, making some extra cash.
Kena.
Okay, yeah,
Low.
there we go. Making some extra cash and only killing off one player, eventually MW0.
Ngeluar.
Do you think for Ascend though, I mean it's early days yet, but did you feel that their biggest problem in Masters 3 was just that inexperience?
Potentially, like I think they had some tough matchups, and I definitely think that they probably should have gone through the map that ended up eliminating them. Like obviously having the sort of almost choke or what it looked like, and their opponents obviously being probably the most experienced team in terms of previous FPSs. So it's possible that that was the reason. I don't think
Oke, udah ronde 3.
Yeah, and because vivo keeps suffer from the same thing. They even said in the sort of intro that they're inexperienced, the pressure. That's the thing that's they're struggling with, because this is also a very young squad. You're looking at Heat, who's only 18. MW is 20. The oldest is Joe, who's 25.
Don't say that.
Similar stuff. Yeah, it makes us feel ancient. I'm 29 in like 2 weeks. I don't know what's going on. But Ascend is exactly the same. There's no
saying it'll be your
old
birthday,
boys.
right?
Yep. But it is apparently unlucky to talk about your birthday or be wished happy birthday before your birthday.
Okay,
so,
happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks, chat. I imagine all of like Twitch YouTubers just spout, happy birthday. Yeah, I'm not surviving.
A lot of players currently stacked up on the B site. Of course, for Vivo Key, this is one of those rounds where they're playing it as a bonus. They do have a few rifles available, and there is one of them. He has just taken the head clean off of Zeke, and that was the lurk play. The rest of the team making their push, but they are moving in.
Duluan gua tahu.
Setelah lu refresh ya duluan lu.
Iya.
Gua refresh lagi.
Nanti lu yang duluan.
Nggak mungkin lah.
Just seeing if he can catch any players. Look at this.
Wah!
He's just
CNED.
jumped onto the spot.
Ya, mati CNED tidak.
And MW can take out CNED at this point. Starzone now trying to up this tempo. The trades are good.
Wah.
No, incredibly good. It's left just onto Bone Cold, and he can't get anything done. A bonus round victory for Vivo Key as they kick things
Kok
off
menang?
3-0.
3-0.
Maybe a few worrying signs already for Ascend, because yeah, these are the sort of confidence plays that I think are only going to pump up Vivo Key. Like this is what they spoke about, that they're almost playing off of like emotion and feeling, and I'm sure for a lot of analysts that is one of the most triggering things a team can ever say. But
other than we play our own game.
We play our own game, yeah, we hear that one a lot. But just listening to the players, even as like before they walked out on the stage, during their walk out on the stage,
out of the team so far.
Just sitting down in their chairs, already screaming. So if they can keep this momentum going, wow, Ascend are going to have to break it, that's for sure.
And Ascend for this map, we've not really seen. We've seen him twice. Masters, one of those was that dominant loss against Vision Strikers, but he's certainly online.
Nih coba gue hitung counternya sama nggak nih? 22, 21, 20.
21, 20, 19, 18. Lo yang duluan ya? Ya udah lah, nggak apa-apa.
Heat has 3 kills. They are all on Zeke. In each round, he's been the opening kill.
On the Rainer as well.
He found him with the Marshall. Last round, he peeked him with the rifle. He's done it with the op. So he's already killed him 3 different rounds. Of course, in this one, an inherent disadvantage for Zeke. But they're being caught all over the shop.
I mean no. Salah gue anjing. Kan dukungnya Acend ya.
Effectively, the fact that he has the operator on this early and this is looking to be a flawless. We'll see what it's like.
Kalau ke CPC biar tenang tuh, kita bet ke yang jago tapi dukung yang underdog.
Oh iya.
Jadi menang kalah happy.
Tapi udah taruh channel point ini gimana dong?
Kan kita benar, kita dukung yang terkenal kan.
Iya.
Bet kita terkenal, tapi dukungnya si Vivo.
Iya, Vivo ya.
Gue sih gitu seneng kalau yang menang itu nggak terkenal.
Waduh, 4-0. Vivo K.
This is looking dominant thus far, and I want to touch just before we get into the next round on that map for a little bit, because it was something brought up by the desk. Like realistically, Bind, I think we
Gila,
give it
Killjoy-nya
a shoe-in for Ascend, but other than that, Ryan, I think the maps are actually pretty decent.
Itu jauh loh ngefliknya.
He wanted to play this in the end says a lot about how prepared they're in, and you would expect Ascend to be relatively the same. They're not the kind of team that's going to bring out KO like we saw from Raccoon, but those teams that have kind of gone, yeah, we've been working on our icebox throughout this time. Team Secret, for example, have come in and surprised. It's not like out there when it comes to strategies, but the play is tighter. That to me is much more interesting from watching those games before. But now you were saying about that attack operator, it finally gets seen it off the board and Heat goes down first. Yeah,
they were waiting for Heat. They know he's going to be pushing in every single round, and as I said, he's been finding an opener onto Zeke, so maybe Zeke will feel a little bit safer. He's like, oh god, good, he's dead. Maybe there's a chance I can actually survive in this round, but that 1 kill might not necessarily be the difference. We know how heavy Ascend like to lean into this A site. Thanks, Jess, for that one. But we're going to see the Killjoy all pulled. Maybe you're just preemptively expecting this. It's been destroyed, so I guess technically they have baited out and not on the other side from Bone Cold, but the whole team is now here ready and waiting.
Yeah, there's no flanks around. That's exactly what Keyless is checking, but now we might actually go on a bit of a lurk.
Oh,
realized how much space is in.
Nice, Zeke.
The rest of his team are retreating, but he's able to hold on. These layers are so important, so the fact that Zeke has been dying first for the majority of the rounds, now we start to see him do exactly what you want to see from Arena. The amount of players that kept over on the A site just from him now. Everybody else has rotated away. Vivo Key don't want to take that risk, and they can't because Zeke is still going to push. Murray does eventually take him down.
Yeah, he's wasted enough time. The rest of the team waiting. CNED's operator will put a second in the grave, and this round in itself is looking grave. A clean
pecah
telur. They
telur.
make it onto the board. But there's
Akhirnya
gonna be a
pecah
lot of
telur
it's not the
di
end of
ronde
the world
5.
just yet for Vivo Key.
And they got Blade Storm as well. Even at this point, he just goes, I'm going to just retain my money for now, basically. No, I'm not going to buy up another operator. I think the interesting thing though is Keyless is one away from having a Viper's Pit. Ultimates are very much coming online on the side of Ascend. Hunter's Fury just used. I do like the fact that Ascend weren't deterred away from that A site. Usually you see that Killjoy ult being placed before the plant just to kind of scare them over to B, to falling into any traps. I mean, that's what Ascend did anyway, but the fact that Zeke was still alive, he's enough of a thorn in the side, and I think that's what makes him such a powerful player for Ascend. He's a pain in the ass to deal with.
I think you could say that for most of the members of Ascend, but I'm not going to disagree. Now again, we're going to see a different form of aggression coming out from Heat. Not going for the same battle. It's almost like that rotational AWP we've seen for years and years. He's brought it into Valorant as well. The question is anyone going to peek him? That A-site lean is definitely there once again, but you can see Ascend have already adapted. They're being caught off early in a lot of rounds from this aggressive operator. Instead, they are holding.
Utility on the side of Ascend, it's very difficult to really unearth when these operators are posted up. Most people will look at flashes as being the main thing, but like breach stuns, for example, the Aldrun is one of those things that is very good at it, but of course, being baited away by Joe.
Mundur.
He is allowed to stay in place, and he knows that nobody's coming. The stack is moving over to A on the side of the defense.
Yeah, they put Joe there purely for the purpose of destroying the drone, just to make sure his position wasn't revealed. And as said, the rotation so far from Vivo Keed has been spot on. They've got
nice
waiting, but Zeke's Empress allows him
nice
to not only find that opener, heal up, and escape. And CNED has just popped one
nice.
more. Ascend starting to roll into this A site, finding every single kill, and they're even looking to potentially try and hunt down the remainder.
That's
already.
not a bad idea.
Look at the runaround. Like Bone Cold's just like, right, if they're running away,
oh safe ya.
That's a
Iya
nice
safe. OP soalnya.
Like he's still holding on. Not likely to use that Blade Storm just for an eco when it comes up. Had to buy up that operator again. So saving these guns.
Oh no, awas!
So Ascend well here. He can just keep chipping away. It's not like Ascend winning streaks of rounds in a row there.
Oh, kesana.
Going to be okay, but not ideal.
Iya.
The fact
Seen
that
it.
he almost feel pressure to take those fights.
Nggak jadi safe.
Ascend trap.
It's such a difference maker. Like, I really would like. I don't know if the desk can be bothered. I know they like to have a little bit of a nappy nap while the game's on. I can actually see Jess from here, eyes closed, just enjoying herself. She doesn't have her headphones on, so she doesn't know I'm actually being very mean. But I want to know if there's a difference in percentage of rounds on the attack with CNED with an operator in his hands and CNED without. Because right now, it's been 100% to 0.
No.
There's so many like stat nerds in the scene now. I'm sure that's something that like Platch have been leaning on. Seasonal is worthy of a shout as well with the work that he's been doing in the scene for that. And it is an interesting thing, especially when you have some Jets in this tournament that don't really play the op a lot. For example, later on we see Patapan. Not really known for the op. You got BA, he's amazing with all of the guns. He's the most well-rounded one. So CNED versus Heat is going to be interesting in various ways other than who gets the most killing kills.
Timing here is going to be everything.
Nice.
Didn't spot out Heat, and he's already taken off 2 heads. Not the start that they were looking for.
Keren
He
kali
waited
ini
for his moment
jetnya
and found
VK.
it perfectly. Still a good chance here though for an afterplant, but actually straight away we're going to see the Hunter's Fury just patiently waiting.
Wah, kena.
Oh,
enggak.
tagged
Okay.
him, but Bone Cold will survive. This should allow him to
Wah, gila.
everything put into his crosshair, and you can see the confidence.
Kepala,
He's running straight in, he
ay.
spots the man at the back, but Bone Cold takes him down. Still a 2 versus 4 scenario, some weaker weapons on the remaining players, so there is still quite a lot to do. And Bone Cold might catch a player with the Aldro now, a free kill for him at least, but his teammates being pressured. Killes needs to stay alive, and actually his pit's about to drop. Players on the other side a chance to but it will be Mures to put him in the ground. Vivo Keed, or should I say Heat, win them an eco.
See, I don't know about that as well. Just in the, it wasn't even an eco. I don't think there was still a full.
Sama loh.
Just Heat just
Yang
decided to use
sebelumnya
that Blade Storm in that given moment.
apa Secret sama Gambit kan
Oh yeah,
Gambit yang milih Icebox, terus yang prediksinya di Icebox yang menang Gambit kan. Yang menang Secret.
juga.
Iya, ternyata.
It's just playing from this position. It was half played.
Jangan terjadi game ketiga nih nanti.
Already in the motion of getting the Sage wall up, the spike down. This kill is beautiful. What I like though is
Beautiful
the
parah.
position to get the Aldron kill. The rest of
kepalanya
Vivo
CNED.
moves into like the site to split up that Viper's pit. They completely isolate both Bone Cold and Keyless. That's a very difficult 2v4, whatever it was in the end.
Quick push through mid, wall to isolate 3 players actually looking in this direction though. A good opportunity for Morris, but he's taken down almost instantly. Still though, a couple of other defenders, and along with Bone Cold's Hunter's Fury.
Halo Bang, halo Zulfikar, halo halo.
And they need it soon, and while this time, I don't think there's a hero to be found.
Bone Cold having 2 Hunter's Furies in 8 rounds now?
Not bad.
That's not bad at all. Especially when it's mostly like, I think Stars are going to be planting the spike for the most part, not only just to get that res online, Hungry Hippos, those ult orbs, but the Sage walls to just protect yourself whilst you're doing it. So Bone Cold has been farming away.
Safe lagi ya.
They've seen it can't afford the operator, which I'm pretty sure he would be able to. He does have that Blade Storm as backup for the next round as well.
Yeah, I like that though. I think that adaptation from Ascend is one that I almost feel was necessary. Like, we've seen some slower rounds that give someone like Heat opportunities. Instead, they just take that away from him. And actually, there were 3 players in a pretty solid position from Vivo Keep, maybe expecting that response, but we've seen Zeke step up, a couple of kills coming through from him, and they win this one with 4 players alive. So any chance of destroying that economy that could have come through from the last round just dissipates in an instant.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mild hunt in the end even for Ascend, trying to catch onto the back of Heat. Keyless is the one that goes down. I do think that Acend, though, isn't quite the case of CNED and friends as much as people may, certainly outside of EMEA, think. Like, Keyless is just a player, for example, that I feel
Coachnya
just
kayak
really
dosen.
maybe get the accolades of some other strong Sentinel players in the end anyway.
Kayak dosen lagi Zoom online.
So looking at the two
Apa ya?
coaches, NBS, I think really he needs to join the bold gang. I think at this point, I think it'd suit him.
Stop trying to convert everyone.
Everybody.
We've been. It's happened to Achilles as
Jess
well.
and Yinsu are the main two. Join the bold gang.
Yeah, of course, of course. I would like to see you try and say
Wah,
that.
CNED
It's
kena
going to be the
lagi.
battle of the Jets, and this time he comes out on top. As said, we've seen CNED be the difference in all the rounds, and you know what? I think Acend agree with us. They brought him back from the depths, and out for the
Kena lagi.
He's actually getting tagged up. He's going to have to fall back out of the site, and they're going to use this to try and claim some extra space. Zeke looking for a duel, hoping that someone's going to try and fight against him. But this time, Ryan, it's a lot more passive from Vivo Keed.
Yeah, some of that post-plant, anti-plant utility coming out of the side of Vivo Keed. Not really connecting all that much onto the star zone, to the point he's actually just staying in that spot. He definitely likes to do it a little bit. Popped up onto the high ground, Bone Cold with a recon that's going to see if any players come through on rafters, and it's just been watched keenly. This is a really nice post-plant from Acend, but Vivo Keed still in it, dedicating the res as well.
Oh, ya mati.
Turns it into a 1v2 scenario. He's getting
lawan
smashed
dua.
with utility, but doesn't take much damage from it. The tap on gets the conversion.
Anjir.
This man moves on to the Killjoy. Every
Anjir.
single headshot along the way. He's been on fire so far.
Gila Killjoy-nya sejahtera. Berbahagia dia.
He has another lockdown ready to go. And
Bisa clutch.
We were worried about Ascend's like mental, right? That's a hard round to come back from. And you didn't really expect Murray to be able to do that. Even just
pala.
he could roll cold Achilles to try and like
Pala
shut down whilst he
semua
was in
gila.
that pocket around Jenny. Wasn't quite connecting that well.
Yeah, that is a Red Bull clutch that can put you in the dirt. A 1 versus 3, CNED even flying over
Toxic,
the top of his head,
toxic.
finding himself that sort of extra kill, and then just transferring onto the
Toxic
1 versus 2. I am not
Time out.
at all. You know,
Aduh.
we need a moment. We need a moment. We've seen them in previous events during the pauses, singing some songs, doing some little clapping.
They're not doing that right now.
They're not doing that right now. And I don't really blame them, because that is not a scenario that ever should have happened. But I think we're just seeing the proof. Like, we've spoken about this many a times, so of the desk, that Vivo Keed are that Brazilian super team. Like, we've got some long-standing rosters here as well, but this is the squad that have been continuously changing, bringing players, individuals in to almost help them pop off, Ryan, and the combination right now looks pretty good.
And it's only a team for Vivo Kid that have been together since stage 3. Like, it's not even been like Ascend has been throughout the year. Ascend winning Masters 1 in the EU region, not EMEA even. It was just a big surprise, really, when you're looking at some of the teams in there. But Ascend have had a lot of pressure on their shoulders and have sort of fallen out of favor in a few games. Like the first game that I casted with Mitch, which was one of my favorite ones to do, was Ascend losing to Team Vitality in stage 2. Like, it's just been throughout the year, Ascend have had to deal with this monkey on their back that, alright, you won Masters 1, you have to lead by example. With teams like Gambit and stuff and some Turkish super teams coming up and down, Ascend have done well to stay, but to be on the top, that's been the awkward part.
Oh, they're still going to have a bye for this one. The rounds they have been winning have been relatively clean, and on the other side of things, of course, only one player surviving for Vivo Keed, so there is still very much a chance to pull off a response, although we do normally see a fair amount of attack rounds on this map from, well, most teams playing it, so I am starting to worry a little bit for Acend that bitten off a little more than they can chew this time. CNED, I think, has just decided, you know what, I'm gonna
CNED udah
bait that shot out, because it has been heat. I
kapok.
want to say winning that duel more often than not.
Across multiple players, yeah. I think CNED's won it. I think the only time he did win it was over towards this tube position, actually. So, that mid-pressure's coming in, they baited out the operator shot, so it's like, alright, we can't really go A this time. Zeke is one orb away from having an Empress. That might be quite useful, but the concern I have is that Murray's does have that lockdown. There is no Hunter's Fury to try and combat it this time. And with time being relatively low now for Ascend, that might be the play for Murray. Just get that lockdown, and then it's awkward, especially now that
Oh
this
gitu
utility's been
wallnya.
dedicated and the plant's going down.
Yeah, the worry for me is that
Tapi yang nge-plan bukan dia.
Iya.
Clutch. Now, sure, this is a completely different scenario, but Ascend have done well for the most part in these scenarios. The lurk play as well from Zeke is already going to shut down one, and they expected
Nice. Nice. Oh. Oh, Sage main bangga melihat ini. Gak jadi. Kena detain. Gak, tetap bangga lah, 3 kill. Bangga lah.
And acend right back on the horse, and I want to see the economy right now for vivo Kid, because as I said, they survived that last one because of a clutch.
Oh iya, nggak ada yang pakai Sky, gue baru sadar.
Especially he buying up that op time and time again.
Healernya
I mean,
Sage.
this is the round to eco on, right? You want to go into round 12 with as much as possible, so if you keep trying to scramble up a buy, especially now that you do have a Viper's Pit, you do have a Bladestorm one ult orb away, so he is going to be pretty fine for this round. And a good one to win. I like that we're seeing teams try to adapt around that lockdown play of just keeping one player that's going to get detained, but if he can get a couple of kills, it's 100% worth it. Reminds me of Guild on Haven as well.
Oh gitu ya. Drone-nya barengan sama Reina.
Clear.
Iya betul.
You're going to be looking to try and get that Bladestorm, so they fight both sides
Oh,
of the map,
lihat
one
ini.
side with the drone, the other with the passive players waiting to see.
Oh,
He's gonna expect him to
gila, itu blind spot gak sih?
Iya,
Blind
jauh banget.
Iya, itu blind spot gak sih? Gila tuh ya.
And that's enough for him to basically
Gila
shut
sih,
down
Net.
this round. There should be absolutely no way back in.
Wow, kepala bro. Kepala itu, gila. Kepala itu loh. Gue aja bisa kena badan aja. Bangga banget pagi kena kepala. Hebat. Aduh.
Cepetan.
Iya.
Hai.
Ntar kalau gua gitu juga kita gitu prime game.
Kalau itu
Sama Red Bull Clutch.
kalau S krating deng S.
Thing is though, a 6-6 scoreline, although I will say that I
Kubima
believe Vivo
Thrifty.
King would be fairly happy with it, it's definitely not a death sentence by any means.
No, not at all. I think it's not even a case of, especially because it's been so long since we've properly seen Acend on this map. I think they played it once in some of the third-party tournaments in between. They didn't play it in home ground, for example. But it was never a map that they banned. It was never really a map that they picked. So there is a suggestion there that they're comfortable on here, and that's what it looks like. But it doesn't give you the same. We are a master across different maps like Vision Strikers does, and I think that's why Acend is sort of outed as top 4 or 5 teams that are likely to win champions.
Yeah, I think looking at this especially, like, again with this map pool, I think both teams are going to be relatively happy. Like, I think the only
more so Acend though with Bind.
No, that's what I mean. It's like you've got that one map that I think no matter what happened, like clearly if vivo Key don't want to play Ascent, then banning that is not really that much of a shock. It's evidently something they don't feel confident in. Then it was either going to be that or Bind, so they're picking the lesser of two evils. The other two maps in the pool are fine, but if I was going to pick two maps personally that I would almost bet on Ascend to win in this series, it would be Bind, obviously, and then Breeze. Like, I think they're Breeze, especially just because it looks like a map that really suits CNED, open spaces. I feel like he's almost like some sort of, like, I don't know, like an animal. He's allowed out. It's like, he gets these like nice open spaces.
He's just let off the chain. Yeah. He's just like the Tasmanian devil.
Letting your dog out in the park. Yeah. But no, honestly, it is one of those things, though, where he's set free with that operator, and he's just so good on that map. So even though it's one that, I think 5-0, right, for vivo Keyed, I think this is a very different level of team that they're going to be coming up against.
Definitely, yeah. I guess the big thing when you're looking at the Jets, like the section that Balor was talking about at the start of the day, which was really nice. Yeah, he even said it in the NA little films that they did with Baby Beta. He feels that he is the most well-rounded Jet. Like, he can pop off with the Op, the Bladestorm, Phantom. If he has a Vandal in hand, he can use that, the Sheriff. And I think that's what CNED could evolve into. I think all of the Jets really want to be leaning in that direction in particular. Like, Ye is the perfect comparison of what a Jet player should be. CNED is a fantastic opper. What about everything else? And also, it's just like, we've seen him throughout the year. We didn't know what he looked like this time last year when he was playing for Nolpenki. Then we see him on camera. You could tell that he's shy, a little cute thumbs up. Now he's on a stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people. And you could tell just from looking at him in a lot of cases, he seems a little more comfortable here than he did in Masters.
Yeah, I think maybe taking a little bit of time just to get into the rhythm of things. I'll also be interested, like, just from a personal perspective, to see that when, hopefully, we get crowds, that's a completely different ball game. I think a lot of people, a lot of pros will say that like sitting on a stage is maybe a little bit of an upgrade from home, but the second you get that noise, that screaming, maybe even some booing here and there, depending on what country you're in, depending who the home fans are, that's where the game becomes very, very difficult.
You don't have a machine to tell them off as well.
No. I wish we did. I'd love to see machine here, but no, it's one of those things that's definitely going to be another level for a lot of these players. I have to say as well, like we talk about this being like the group of Jets. I really want to see if Padapan's actually going to be playing Jet, because we set that up last time. We saw
he's just going to be on Sky,
and then he was just but he was playing Viper. Like we saw about Viper and Sage last time he was here, and I was just kind of like, you're meant to be like the Jet of your region, one of the best players, and then you're just like wrecking people, Sage walling over mid on Ascent, and I'm like, you're a madman.
Yeah.
But I'm excited.
He plays for the fun of it, you know what I mean? Like he likes to sort of test the boundaries. We should be back in game shortly, just if not a couple more minutes time.
Yeah, monitor issue. It happens sometimes. It happens.
So that's what I blame.
Oh, have we gone from a tech to attack? There you go.
I've never seen that before. We need more time.
We need it. You know what? I wasn't happy with the few minutes.
But also, to be fair, correct me if I'm wrong, but when it is a tech pause, there is no talking, really. It's not like the coach can come in during the tech pause.
You got to learn how to like talk just through eye contact.
Hive mind. Yeah.
That's what
Who would have the biggest be vision strikers, right? I feel like they're always on the same page.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to look into Stax' eyes, because every time I did during the press conference, I got more scared of him. I was like, this guy's not screwing around.
Are we seeing what we're seeing on attack here? Are they still changing it up? I was like, yeah, I can understand that they want to flood their money a little bit, just show off that, hey, we can get free operators if we want, but we're not Team Liquid, so we're not going to.
They do still have
two. Yeah, they still have two.
I guess they just want to fight. Oh, dear. Okay. Maybe a little bit over-aggressive that time from Heat. Try to find someone on the B side. It's not where CNED has been. Now, I guess it's because they've also used the Viper's Pit on A. So they've tried to lock down that side of the map, and on the other side, the Viper's Pit ends up actually just being their own teammate. That is an interesting pit, though.
Wow.
Yeah, and Zeke actually leaving the operator on the ground. So he can switch and swap if he wants. And I like what CNED was doing. He got that initial kill. He was still firing. You know, there's an operator over on B main on the attack, so maybe somebody from A pushes and they run into Zeke with an operator. It's just that kind of, it's not really a play that you're going to expect on the side of vivo.
vivo Keed right now have absolutely no clue what's going on. I can tell you that for the exact reason that Viper's Pit, they could have crossed over. They don't know. There's also been a drone that's gone through their own Viper's Pit on the other side of the map, and in reality, the attackers are pushing B long. So there is no information whatsoever. You can see Joe's just started like calling to his team. They're actually on B. You've gone A. They're planting here. I'm on my own.
Hey, but
back he is. Just had no idea. They've been completely confused, bamboozled by Ascend, and it leaves just two players left, Ryan, to try and bring back around.
Oh, nice in it.
Yeah, and even if
dah,
had to use an Aldra
6-6. Berarti 0-0 lagi.
Kitchen. Now that's the area that Kilo is.
0-0 lagi.
In a 1 versus 5.
Dapat. Iya, timing.
Oh, no.
Iya, timing.
That's heartbreaking.
Tengok belakang ya.
Aiming flawless to close out though, Ryan. And yeah,
timing
I
itu.
think that's one of the
Pasti temannya ada yang bilang behind. Yang nengok ke depan. Careful flank.
Their opposition, so I like it. I think
sejago-jagonya pro player pasti
wonder
masalahnya timing juga.
Little gimmicks or little things that Ascend are going to be throwing in off of that.
Well, it was just the fact that we had that timing after the tech is just that's could be going, hey, let's do this. Let's really get under their head, and also just tech pauses take the momentum out sometimes. That just having a plan, having an idea, just keeping the mental high is why that tap pause came in the end, but Ascend used it very much to their advantage.
Well, you know what? I assume we're going to be heading this one back over to the desk so they can have a little bit of a chat about what has gone on, and I'm interested to see what they thought of that final round as well.
It's lovely.
It's a fair assumption there, Tom. Heading back over to us for halftime. Equalized 6-6.
Equalized
6-6. Final round there for Ascend. But I like where we're at. Dead even going into halftime for both of these teams. We talked about it needing to get done for vivo Keed here on Icebox. And the way they started, and Muri specifically, 4K pistol round, he's feeling hot.
I mean, the man couldn't stop. Whether or not he's on Killjoy or not, I don't think it matters to him. I think he just understands where he needs to be, how he needs to capitalize, and that's a strength for Vivo Kid, because on the pre-desk, didn't we say every other player on Vivo Kid outside of Moritz?
Yeah,
didn't we only give him like 10 seconds of airtime?
Yeah.
The man was like, where's my spotlight? Get me on the desk.
Right, and now he's top fragging for the squad. Of course, it seems natural that right behind him is Heat, and it didn't take us long to find our HyperX reflex moment of the day. It came in round 3.
HyperX reflex moment.
Finding a single
HyperX
kill
reflex
on the
moment.
push by Acend, but the reaction
Depannya
time
nama
there
sponsor
was
dulu.
sick. Let's see if we can get a look.
Yeah, it was just absolutely nasty from him, and hopefully we'll pull it up here in just a second so we can relive it. Hopefully we play it multiple times, because it is very much a
HyperX reflex moment.
It's so very quick. Just
Oh.
an instant snap down.
We have
That
this
is
parah
slow-mo.
itu.
Can we get this in like a slow? Yeah, there we go. Run it nice.
I love it. You
Cepet
love it.
banget.
You said how many times can we watch it? I mean, it's so quick. We could fill 2 minutes with watching it 120 times.
It's a nasty shot. Like, because not only is it just like a chest flick, it's right on the skull. He hits it in the moment. In the moment that he pulls the trigger, he's already scoped out. He's dashing away to stay safe. It's just beautifully done.
So that was round 4. It gave vivo Kid a very early lead, and that's what you wanted to see. But we also have to talk about the way that Acend was able to claw back into it.
All I gotta say, man, I checked out the stats on their attacking, and they start off incredibly slow, but not even just their pushes for plants were slow. They are on average 30 seconds slower to get the plant down throughout that entire half than any other time they've ever played Icebox. I don't know if this is a strategy for Acend throughout this entire tournament, but 30 seconds on average slower than you usually hit site, man, that's slow.
Tom also, well, he flamed us first,
Yes,
but then
correct.
asked us to do some work on his behalf,
Yeah.
which feels like a weird approach to me,
That
but
is
he's
weird.
lucky that we love him enough to have done it. You asked what was the percentage of wins for Acend in rounds where CNED had an op in his hand. They won 4 of 6 of those rounds. So Tom, we're going to throw it back to you. Do what you will with those stats.
Math. 4 out of 6 is good.
That's about 70% of the time, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, that's what Bala was saying.
Yeah, but it's always 70%. No matter what the stat is, it's 70%.
Yeah.
But here we go. We've seen aggression from one jet. We're getting some from another.
ngeliat.
Seen it up above. Is the drone checked?
Yeah, drone.
They've actually got the wall up, and he has
Lari,
definitely
lari.
spotted. We'll be able to escape before any real trouble begins.
Oh, belum ada
but
itu ya.
has to try and
Smoke.
back away. Again, 4 players already over here, just leaving the lone player of Zeke.
Yeah, and you also have this toxic screen as well, which is purely retake. So Morris is going to see this go. Maybe the site's completely open, because usually you see that toxic screen. Zeke thought he was big braided, but Heat there just on the high ground catches him out on that crossfire. Lovely play, but that
Yang
utility's
ngepick
already
yang
set up
bawah,
for
yang
Acend.
nembak yang
They're
atas.
going to have to meander over. And with Morris still alive, I wonder how much he's lurking, because right now he's just planted face first into Ascend's sightline.
Oh, this is aggressive already. They're going to get things back into a more even scenario, and it has to be the fallback of the opposing jet and Heat. They haven't even managed to get themselves the spike down. This is a retake before they've even got the plant. Ascend just come running through, and it's left all on to Vixen. It seemed like their game plan, at least from vivo Kid, was a solid one,
Nice.
but Ascend disrupt them before they can get anything done.
I think so much of this game as well is just going to come down to those kind of fights where you want to almost condition the opponent. It's just, this isn't necessarily the smartest play for players like Morris to be facing up as aggressive like this kind of play. But if Morris wins that fight, he gets into the ahead of Acend. And if they start whipping shots, which, to be honest, we did see a little bit in Masters 3 of, I think that's still we used to see that when Acend are doing well. But remember when they were, what, 4-0 down at the start? Didn't hear a peep from them.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like Starzo's always like just moving that little bit. It's just how much he's moving. The more they're winning, the more he moves. That's what I've learned, at least.
It's like APM.
For now, though, a lot of information found. The drone down mid will spot a couple of players, and in fact, they're going to use this to bolster up their B defense. But this seems to be the plan in a lot of rounds initially from vivo Kid, is just have that spot over to B, see if they can find anything on the opener. If not, fall back, slow it down, maybe try and disrupt what Acend have been doing.
There's a bit of information for Acend to hear.
Nyerut es
What the classic
dulu.
shots used to break that wall. It means that there is going to be a bit of movement across. The Marshal posted up on B main, so CNN's going to keep an eye. And I don't think at this point Vixen's been, putting up that wall to try and bait the interest. It's an open sightline for CNN to just keep tabs on it. Mid is being watched loosely from Keylez. And this is just good map control from Acend. Nothing too egregious. They don't want to get eco'd at all. It's just patient stuff. And if Zeke as well can have a bit more success from this position, he's up on the high box on this defense. Means that vivo Keed need to be scared of all of these angles. It is icebox at the end of the day.
Yeah, this could become a little bit rough. He's got the ability to dismiss if he needs it. Well, eventually it will come through. Starzo falls, so again, at least a player being dropped, but one death is not going to be too much of a cost for the defenders, and they'll find all the remaining kills fairly easily. Take the lead, but this is where we expect the response.
One other thing I wanted to mention as well with Murray is 14-9 currently. First official game on Killjoy. Probably to nobody's surprise, but it's still good to check. And he has been a player that I think has just been trying to find his feet. He's almost like the GTN FRZ of Vikings. Just the meta changing at the start of the year. A lot of teams playing double duelist, especially in Brazil. Once we went into a Sky meta, it's just... You could play Sky like a duelist. Now, you kind of can. You can play in various different ways. That's the beauty of that agent at the very least. But you have freedom to play other stuff at the very least.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was 14-4. So I'm pretty sure he's died 5 rounds in a row. So it's been very explosive rounds from Mures that have definitely been highly impactful, but in terms of consistency, I think that's been the issue so far for vivo Keed.
Well, other than the 2 4K rounds, we're doing a lot of maths
yeah, let's stop that. You never do math on air.
Outside of the flashy rounds we've seen from him, he's just been chipping away. It's not like he's been multi-killing every single round.
Well, for now, this is a very weak purchase for Acend. They've just got those bonus weapons from before, a pistol alongside the Spectres. The range game is going to clearly favor the side of vivo Keed. And by the looks of it, they're going to have a fairly easy B plant because the rest of the players are currently looking to try and challenge into mid.
It's scary though, you don't really have that Aldrin. It was used already from MW. You might not even had the money to get it at this point. If you're looking at Heat, he's only got 25 armor, so even though this is a full buy, only just in some of these cases. But despite going down, there's no lurks, there's no cute plays from Acend, even though you are taking the attention for vivo Keed, kind of watching behind him a little bit. Yeah, Zhao is playing very close.
Ooh, I'm wondering if they're going to try and counter all this. Starzo has his own that he might just look to try and peek out. They're going to one, but with the rifles in hand, they spam it through and the cleanup doesn't take too
lagi
long
nembak
whatsoever.
lagi nembak lo kok naik.
From the side of vivo Keed, someone expected in a round like this, and well, the retake plan from Acend not working out this time.
Yeah, Zhao sort of offering himself, Joe offering himself up pretty well there. I think just those kind of moments, so whilst he does go down, like you said, that Sage Wall came in to try and block a defuse. Acend in that moment panicked a little bit, don't you think? It was just a bit of a, why is he here? And at this point, the rest of the team can capitalize. One of the interesting things that I saw in an interview with, I think it was Morris, about MW's going to be playing relatively passively. You sort of expect him from being a pure duelist player up until now to maybe playing a bit more aggro, especially with Morris moving over to a Sentinel. But no, it's been Heat making those entrances, and the playoff from that from vivo Keed has been pretty impressive so far.
I like the attempt, but the peekaboo spot out from Zeke hasn't worked whatsoever, and there's a push coming straight in up to the side. They're just looking to try and run this one straight through. Murray's leading the charge.
Enggak, ada suara.
He's managed to get quite far.
Masa kalau ngomong
I
masuk
don't know if they realized that he's got all the way through, and Bone Cold's going to be the one to catch him.
Tadi ada suara gitu.
Killers is in a horrible spot.
Suara lu.
Iya, suara gua.
The wrath of the full team,
Kalau sekarang
coba
lu ngomong.
Halo.
Oh,
Enggak ada.
He takes the brunt of the damage. A 2 versus 2 scenario in the lurk coming through from Heat is not going to be expected at all. It's left onto Starzo to try and break this one back, and he gets nothing. Heat with 3 kills, scoreline equalized, vivo Keed back.
Even then, you're forcing Acend to do what Starzo did, the sort of wall boost plays, the kind of things that you see from well-known
Iya, ada suara
right? It's forcing over-egregious plays from Acend on his defense just to try and catch vivo Keed off guard. But like I mentioned, that team play has been very impressive, considering you've only had MW0 in this roster for a couple of months, if that, at the very most.
Yeah.
But even just in general, this squad is very new. The interesting thing as well I wanted to mention, MW0, Joe, used to play on Game Landers together. So there is a bit of synergy. It's not like MW0 is completely outcasted from this side. And I think so far, that's probably one of the reasons why this vivo Keed team looks so in sync with each other.
Yeah, especially for a roster that I think a lot of people are just looking at them as that individual
firepower
team.
All aim, no brain.
it hasn't really looked that way. They've had those lurk plays, decent trades. Sure, there's been a few flashy plays along the way, but they're looking much more well-rounded. Now, it's something I said yesterday when we saw the loss of Gambit. I never really like to judge a team just on their icebox performance because I feel like it's a more simplified map than a lot of the others we have within the pool. So I don't want to take too much, but
sometimes that's nice though.
True.
Especially for a first map that we've seen vivo Keed in a while. It's just a good, like I said with Team Secret yesterday, stress tests. You're not going to be over egregious with compositions. And Bolt Cold again, down in the same position as the last time. This one, it's an eco, so it's not really too much. But if they could scare Bone Cold away from playing in these spots where he wants to keep an eye out, that's going to work very well in vivo Keed's favor. Like, confidence is so important for either side, but especially when it's on for vivo Keed, that's a freight train.
There's a few ults fairly close for the side of Ascend, so any kills they can get might actually benefit them quite a bit, but for now the hold, lovely movement from vivo Keed is looking stellar. Killers will at least get one, but it's not really going to harm the Brazilians too much. 9-8 as they confirm their lead now. And as I said, we're waiting for a response because a lot of the time we do expect some stellar attacking sides, and thus far that's what we've got from vivo Keed.
Well, we see the operator coming out of CNED at this point. It is in. It sort of adds to that narrative, I suppose, the story of just, you know, it's might be much better when it comes to having those operator rounds, and I think this is an important one really for Ascend to win. It's been streaky, just winning a pistol, last 3 lost. And ultimates as well. There's enough for Ascend to work with here to really cause issues for vivo Keed. Viper's Pit's going to be the first one used in a direction where a lot of traffic is going from the Brazilian side.
Killers is going to pop it, but back off, just trying his best to avoid the drone. And actually, they're going to make this very awkward for him. Now he's got to try and go back in just to keep the integrity of the Viper's Pit.
Look at Joe.
Then he has to try and back out. So this is becoming quite a problem. Zeke as well popping the Empress as they look to try and push through, and Killers has actually been trapped, but it almost works as a bit of a bait if they tried to push him down. There were plenty of players ready and waiting. Even still though, it is going to be the plant come through, and he manages to get the opener.
The Viper's Pit being down now is not really too much of an issue. The lurk was attempted from Joe, but in fact moved away. I think he was caught by the turret setup in the end from Morris, and now the Hunter's Fury coming through. Body is another Viper's Pit's dedicated on the defense, this attack this side even. It's a bit of a mess, but Ascender coming out.
Yeah, they're doing well from this. A triple, a quad spray down from
He didn't even use the recon dart.
He's just stood there with it in hand, waiting at the end. I can't believe it. I think we need a replay of whatever he just did, because that spam through, that play is one of the reasons they wanted this hot property. It's alone, but you know what? I feel like this is almost looking like that 10 scenario. It's like, yeah, we've loaned him out, but they might just have to pay the big bucks, because these are the sort of plays that are making the difference.
Udah kelar ya? Udah kelar ya?
Mau nonton punya lo. Nih gue fan, tapi gue gak sinkron gara-gara dia lagi streaming di YouTube.
When you scream so loud, you cause a technical pause.
Apparently we're getting calls from central Berlin saying they heard that from over there.
Oh yeah,
I think they heard that all the way back in Brazil.
We're getting some noise complaints. We
Acend sama vivo Keed.
Yeah, no, a truly ridiculous play, and we've seen
Ada
it.
Acend
Sinet.
Hey. Kok
apa? Makanya.
Itulah indahnya
Dari
Valorant.
kemarin map pertama, sumpah Page nggak ngerti di Icebox juga.
Sentinel kalah 1 round kan kemarin.
Iya makanya.
2-1.
Liquid tuh strong, coy, Liquid tuh strong. Kayak Icebox ini deh favorit semua orang sekarang.
Iya selalu map pertama.
Jadi favorit.
Dari dibentuk.
Sekarang lagi detik berapa? Di luar 16. 15, 14,
15, 14, 13, 12, 11.
Gue sama Fanan sama 10.
9, 8, 7, Oh sama.
Oh, si Fanan tuh low latency-nya mati.
Gimana cara low latency mati?
Di settings terus advance. Low latency-nya mati.
Oh iya udah punya.
Low latency matiin ya?
Ya, 130 gua sekarang. Betul nggak? 129, 128.
Iya sama.
Oke.
Low latency matiin ya?
Iya.
Oke, gue matiin.
Bukan tadi udah mati loh.
Belum.
Kan udah telat. Oh,
18, 17, 16, 15,
14,
13, 12,
10.
11. Lah, beda 1 detik.
Itu nyalain aja gua latensinya.
Udah gue nyalain.
From Vivo Keyed, they've been
Gitu ya,
fantastic.
Tai.
They've had those players that are performing to the standard.
Guardian lihat nih.
54, 53, 52.
Siapa namanya? Si Tens.
Kenapa?
Kenapa, Ten?
Oke, bagian mulu.
Nggak kebagian.
Oke, Guardian mulu.
Oh iya.
Iya. Lagi meta ya?
Nggak, itu gara-gara gue pakai aja.
And it is working because Acend now are starting to try and make those hero plays. What he was
Cinet main
on
gak Cinet?
the defense now Zeke
Oh
is
main Cinet.
Main.
with that sheriff wanted to try and surprise.
Naik.
But Vivo Keyed are not going to fall for it. Not lost a player yet.
Yeah, I think this is the man we need to be watching though. If there's anybody who can at least make this costly, it is going to be Cnet. But again, in these afterplants, I've been fairly impressed by Vivo Keyed. They look strong, haven't really been making too many silly mistakes, and for now, they are going to lose the first. Bone Cold managing to find a kill. Starzo's found another one. The knives still standing, but they dissipate. A few missed shots here and there. Although it started to look a little shaky, Vivo Keyed will make sure there is no shenanigans in this.
3 map lagi guys. Sampai pagi lagi nih. Kemarin tuh Toto sampai jam 7 gila. Jam 7 pagi.
Bener-bener iya, tadi apa gua mau berangkat ngantor kan. Lah masih tanding Liquid masih main. Gue kira udah udahan.
Kemarin 3 map soalnya.
Tapi yang Liquid sih dua menang aja sih. Tadi gua nonton 2-0 langsung.
Wah, tapi Liquid jago banget sih.
Oh yoi.
Walaupun semuanya di rumah ya itu.
Iya di hotel. Karantina. Itu ini ya bersaudara ya, Scream sama siapa tuh? Katanya itu brother ya? Gua nggak tahu deh, bener ya?
Iya, Nivera sama Scream.
Iya anjir, The Power
Lu
of
sama kayak
Brothers.
bisa tuh kayak gitu. Sama main valorant kayak asli dah.
Dia nggak suka main.
Pas kita berlima nih.
Dia
Nggak mau, gua sama adik gua.
Oh iya benar juga.
Nah, bisa tuh.
Bisa tuh.
Iya. Nanti ada kategori baru, kategori mix. Bukan.
Emang cewek tuh nggak boleh join yang
Boleh.
Boleh tahu.
Oh ada ya?
Cuma nggak bisa compete
nggak ada.
aja.
Oh.
Iya, cuman nggak ada. Boleh tapi nggak ada aja.
Kalau turnamen yang woman ada.
Cewek ada.
ya,
Iya.
gue pernah nonton.
Yang menang C9 kan yang cewek itu.
Iya, C9.
Asianya alter ego. Ya gue tau cuma tahu gue itu doang.
Itu C9 yang C9 tuh ada orang Indo ya. Gue lupa siapa namanya.
Oh iya bener
Iya.
ada satu.
Ada satu orang Indo, tapi dia tinggal di US.
Yang cewek.
Iya,
Iya.
cewek. C9 yang US. Lupa gue namanya siapa. Jago parah.
Wikipedia. Ya kalau udah masuk C9 masuk cupu.
Iya sih. Nggak salah Jet ya mainnya. Jet lagi mainnya.
C9 White ya? C9 apa sih dia? C9 White. Siapa namanya? Jasmine Manakil.
Iya kali ya.
Oh, sekarang udah nggak ada ya?
Atau udah ini.
Stand in kali stand in.
Instead of the Sage, I don't think we've seen anything too innovative on this map in quite a long time.
Kalau kayak gitu berarti
Killjoy.
bentar, bukan game changer. Game changer harusnya Katsumi bukan. Semuanya
Mel.
Oh iya.
Melanie. Yap, Mel.
Udah warga negara sana.
Tapi warga negara sana dia sekarang. Tapi dia orang Indo.
thing is though, I still feel like there have been.
Iya nih sini Mel.
Jadinya, oh iya mukanya cukup Indo lah ya.
Tuh kan apa US Indo dia. Benderanya.
On the other side of things, we've got 3 players who are just absolutely popping. We're the 3 that have been pretty much hyped up.
Udah guys, kita game 2 aja kali ya.
And in terms of the streak around.
Udah gua sapa no hope.
Ya lah game 2 lah ya.
Neko lagi.
Yeah.
Sini apa namanya?
Acend ya.
Half buy.
Too much of a stat to look into on Icebox, really.
There's still some
No, my Valorant my apa? Channel point.
Ada apa dengan ini ya? Ada apa dengan Icebox ya?
Pada latihan kali. Kayak justru yang map menurut mereka susah mereka latihin kali.
Padahal yang susah harusnya di ban.
Iya, tapi mereka hadapi.
Iya.
Face it. Oh, aus kena teman.
Ini pilihan map siapa?
Siapa ya Jim? Gua lupa.
Siapa ya? Lupa gua juga. Kalau Viking mungkin emang wajar. Kalau ini pilihan Acend sih, udah.
Acend.
Oh iya.
Waduh.
GG dong. 2-0.
There is, however, a res on the other side. SM would need to try and find a player here, and Bone Cold.
Yang kemarin juga si kan game beat yang milih Icebox.
Iya, game beat kalah.
Enggak, yang kemarin Secret yang milih Icebox.
Oh iya.
Oh.
Wah, enggak GG coy, keren.
Belum GG. Mantap.
Shotgun, dua-duanya shotgun.
That was a round they could have won.
Yeah, and the fact that Acend have been struggling in those kind of rounds, we haven't seen them have those insane clutch outs.
Oh, first time.
Yeah, so far main.
He had those shock that's ready to go.
First time.
Decisions. Inexperience maybe on the role playing at least somewhat of a part. Sure, if it was on Raze, he would have blast packed his face right in there to an extent. But really good play from Acend, Starkso, Bone Cold, especially losing 2 players so early in that round and baiting out an ultimate. And with that buy, that's the kind of tight Acend play that you really want to see in a tournament like this.
Masa pagi-pagi udah overtime sih?
Iya pagi-pagi ya ini ya.
Masih hari Jumat tuh ini
It's
belum
not
Sabtu.
deterring Acend though. They're still pushing. Like they're putting up the Sage Roll, the Aldron to get information. It makes sort of regressing onto this A site more difficult. But Zeke is still just trying to face. He's been doing it a little bit, punished mostly, but I do like this angle. Joe being able to wall it up, there's not really going to be too much seen. And vivo Kid at this point, not over-aggressing, it's just straightforward post-plan. Sit back, killjoy lockdowns, creating a lot of different space.
Jaga posisi.
Resurrect if they need it.
And on the other side of things, sure, there's a couple of ults that are not far away. The Blade Storm, also the Empress, just 1 kill needed to get either of those online. They've got a lot still to do.
Besok malam minggu seru loh patch. Ini Liquid lawan Sentinel.
Tapi pagi ya?
Enggak, jam 9 malam.
Oh, jam 9?
Iya. Mantap nih besok malam minggu.
Nonton kali ya?
Nonton lah wajib.
1v1. Wah, post plan.
4 detik. Aduh.
Post plan dapat. Ya, gua ada ini.
GG. 1-0. Ya kalah 1000 poin.
Makanya ngapain sih judi kalian? Ya kan gue.
Lalu kalau datang dari awal juga.
Aduh. Lo berapa Jeff tadi?
800.
Tidak.
Berarti abis ini bisa jadi Acend.
Ya, Acend lah, yuk.
So fast, escapes out of there. It's why this man is such hot property within his region, but then you're just looking at
yang terakhir.
Statistics. There were sort of the 3 duelists. We were thinking how this was going to work out as a roster. Only one of them remained on it. He 23, MW0. That new Sober, we were like, I don't know how it's going to work on Sober. It's not really something he's played too much of. 21 kills. Whereas switching over to a killjoy, something we've never seen before. He still gets 20 kills. This is a team I am excited to see more of.
And you can't even look at Vixen and Joe as being like, sure, they bottom fact 8 and 6 kills between them.
Seru ya, ternyata kalau misalnya tim-tim underdog menang.
Viper.
Yeah.
Joe obviously gets brought up to
Tapi Acend nggak jago-jago banget sih.
the backbones of the teams. I said it when we watched Team Vikings, KCAS and Sada. And these scary trinities that we see on the Brazilian teams when it comes to duelists. And I love the fact that the Brazilian teams are showing up in this tournament. Like Vikings look better, was Crazy Raccoon, Furia, a good result in the end against Sentinels despite losing. And now vivo Kid on the board.
Yeah, for sure. This is the map, though, I think that we can agree and the Des can agree they absolutely needed to win. It does, however, mean that even with Bind coming up next being a heavily favored map to ascend, that there is still breeze on the cards no matter what. So honestly, I think that this is game on. I'm not expecting them even still to win this next map, but the fact
Mereka tuh
that
ini ya,
they come in, you could see that they're
wallnya tuh dipakai belakangan ya.
Defending. I think there's some real hope for Brazil.
Yeah, despite EMEA being 1-0 down, I'm also
Kita coba apa?
as well. Considering all of the other EMEA teams have won their first game, maybe Ascend is going to break that trend, but they do have to bounce back a little.
Well, there is a break before that will happen, and then the analyst desk could break that one down because that was one hell of a map of Icebox.
Acend bannya strong sih. Acend bannya strong.
Enggak, gue pengen VK menang.
Map 3 sih Jif kayaknya. Feeling gue sih map 3 ya. Sambil nunggu gue jalan-jalan di Meksiko dulu.
Asik.
Gimana? Seru kan Inggris?
Oh, seru banget Inggris.
Gila.
Seru banget Inggris.
Beli Jif, Secret Lab Jif.
Apa?
Beli Secret Lab. Dead by Daylight gratis loh.
Di Epic ya? Waktunya Clay. Iya, dia Clay. Dead by Daylight, oh iya.
Claim. Ntar gue mau ambil minum.
Oke. Thank you for buying Dead by Daylight.
Griffin siap.
Welcome back to Champions, where map 1 goes the way of vivo Kid, and I think Tom said it best. It was one hell of a first map on Icebox there. To see them take it in 13 to 9 fashion. It's what we asked for. It's how we think we're gonna get to. Also, Achilles, I feel like they did it in exactly the way we said they would have to in terms of it being a full team effort. It wasn't one player making all the difference. It was everyone stepping up in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it started off looking like maybe it was going to be the efforts of one player.
That is true.
Such a strong start to that map. They brought out the Killjoy that we didn't really anticipate. We were talking about it. They're talking about it during the game. Shocked us a little bit, but absolutely popped. And the use of his lockdowns was just absolutely beautiful. Flushing Viper out of the pit. It was just so well played by him in particular, but the whole team really stepped up.
I mean, a man... Oh, let's go with 2 of the men on the roster that you haven't spoken about thus far. Let's start off with MW0. Absolutely stepped up into the Sova role and did his job as was expected. There was a couple sloppy uses of the utility from both of the Sova players on both sides, but they got the job done in the end. someone I need to highlight though, and the reason I got to highlight him is because one of the stats jumped out at me that's not on your screen right now. It's him. He's your MVP for the side of Vivo Kid, but something that wasn't on the screen for me for this man. Have you ever seen someone end a match with 23 kills and a 50% headshot rate? That means half of his kills hit someone's head. That's
this duel right here against the op with the knives from range is beautiful.
Since the players come damn close on the Korean side of things, suggests one of those guys that really comes to mind with high headshot percentage, but 50% in this was absolutely crazy.
It's everything we said before the match started. CNET on one side, Heat on the other. The battle of the two duelists, and in this first map, Heat is the one who came out on top, closing it out in true fashion with a clutch 1v3.
Yeah, and while we talk about how this was very much a shared effort for the side of vivo Kid, it really felt like a bit of a one-man army scenario for the side of Ascend. It was very much about CNET. We're talking about Bone Cold, Starzo being able to step up to the plate here, and they kind of disappointed.
Right, the team, we've said it time and time, they live and die by CNET. And while he did top frag, it wasn't enough. He couldn't be the one-man army that he needed to be. So we talk about Heat on at the top of the boards. We talk about NW0 right behind him, filling in that new role. But we also got to talk about Muriz on the KJ. It's already been brought up. The 4K on the pistol round at the beginning of it all. But he also picks up our Verizon high-speed moment of the day. And guess what? It's another 4K.
I mean, the man doesn't stop. The man doesn't stop. He had, what has he got, 2 2Ks, 2 4Ks, shared alongside. MW0 had 2 2Ks, 2 3Ks, and a 4K. The team understands what multi-kills is. We said this on the pre-deaths, but every single player on the side of vivo Kid likes to take an opportunity to get into it. That first one really kicked it here, but to get into a 1v3 clutch situation where you know you have to make the difference in a post-play, the time's ticking in your ears, to be that skilled under pressure, unbelievable. And I think this forced Ascend into a timeout straight after he did this to them as well. So, my goodness, the pressure that he applied.
3 players dropping 20 bombs. 3 players dropping 20 bombs. This is a team game at the end of the day, and I think vivo Kid has now set the pace for the series. Of course, we are staring down Bind next. We've heard the casters talk about it. We've talked about it. That is a very comfortable map for Ascend, but I do think it's going to have to take a shift in momentum. And while CNET was at the top of the table, I'm looking at a guy like Starzo to be you know, the mental push for the team. He is one of the leaders. You're looking at him to bring the hype. And these two teams, by the way, in the studio right now, they are going at it. I love to see it. They are loud. It's still going on
happening,
behind
and they're
us.
already still screaming, you know?
So it's been impressive to see, and I love that they're bringing the fire, but that means Ascend's got to keep living up to it. As we jump into our AIM Lab shoot-around, pre-match with Heat. The guy's already on lock, though, so, I mean, I don't know. You give him much more time in the firing range, that 50% is going to jump up to 60%, and then we're in real trouble.
If it jumps up any more than it is, I'm going to say he has freakish cyborg-level mechanical skill. That's unreal.
That's when we have to start investigating the PCs.
That's when we're like, excuse me.
Check him PC, because that is not normal.
Nah, that's just when you check the number of hours he's put into AIM Labs. That's all.
Precisely.
Right?
Look, you guys have been
directly correlated, bro.
Yeah, you guys have been talking about the mechanical skill of the players. You've been talking about how it's been a bit of a frag fest, but I dived a little bit deeper into the numbers because I spoke about in the first half, Ascend's attacks were 30 seconds on average slower than they usually are on that map. And then I looked over to the side of vivo Kid, and it was more than 40 seconds quicker than anything Ascend had put on their attacking half. And then I started to go, well, if one team's going really fast, getting 6 attacking rounds in a row, Ascend is struggling on their attacking half, could the magic be that speed overruns any kind of sort of passiveness that Ascend is putting on, or at least an Icebox? That was a win condition.
Yeah, and it's funny that you point that out because in the moment watching the games, like, it didn't really feel like vivo Kid was necessarily going that much faster at times. So, like, obviously there was those rounds where they were really pushing the envelope, but they just had such great measured aggression throughout this, and that's what we were talking about in the pre-show, that they needed the show. They love to play aggressively, but they play this very intelligently as well. They had good strategies.
But that's the thing. I like they called out that they also had some tempered rounds.
Yes.
But more than anything, that just showcases to me that they are the ones dictating the pace, because they get to decide, all right, the momentum is shifting, and sometimes change of pace can be just as important as what the pace is. The fact that you're forcing the shift, and now the other team is reacting to that. And as we talk about pace, as we talk about vivo right now, being maybe the more explosive team and the ones controlling it. Can they do something similar on a map like Bind? It's totally different set of tools, different choke points that you have to work with to try and push that pace. Is it possible, or will Ascend have the lockdown on this one?
For those who don't understand how one-sided this map should be, when I was talking about it on the pre-desk, Bind is by far and away Ascend's best map. It's their most favored map. They have one loss on it in recent times, and even with that, I'm still confident that they themselves love this map no matter what. But on the flip side, for Vivo Kid, it's a bad map. It's one of their lowest rated maps in my list.
Yeah, I mean, kind of coming into this, there wasn't many good maps for Vivo Kid. It was kind of Breeze where they have 5 wins, 0 losses there, but it's fairly low use. So for them to be able to even take that one on Icebox, now going into
iya sama, tadi dibilang Ascend tuh 78% Icebox.
Wah, ini katanya Ascend tuh cuma pernah kalah sekali daripada juara dia main.
Oh, habis 2 kali.
Oh, Brimstone coy.
Brim. 2 Viper.
So this is not really
2 control, bukan 2
init.
And also 2 healer.
Oh, tapi kalau main emang selalu gitu ya.
Main ya kayaknya cuma butuh 1 ini orang kalau nggak sekali sofa udah bisa.
Well, we've seen, of course, Vivo Kid play the Brimstone
Tapi ini
themselves on this
serunya nih
particular
nanti
map, so they
Jet
had a
lawan
choice.
Ray,
Which smoke do we take? Who do we want to go with?
Lawan
Who
Race
do we
nih.
think will best utilize Astra? And of course, they have that main smoker on their team.
Ya, tampangnya Brim fotonya agile banget.
And okay, I know I'm
Kan,
involved with the
bener.
grab wells. I think Astra is the superior. Okay, whatever. But I do think that teams that have been using it in
Kan
regards to
bapak-bapak,
getting that opening kill
Brim,
has
fight
really
dua.
worked well. Or in a post-plan situation where
Dia
you
kan
know
veteran
they're
perang
entering
ya.
for the retake.
One of the big stories of Masters 3 was the usage of
Sebelum
Astra.
temen
Right?
aja sama
Newer
kayu.
agent at the time, a lot of teams who could find a way to use her effectively would find success overall in the tournament. But those are just some thoughts from us of the teams, as you can see, are diving into the map. So we're handing it back to Ryan and Tom for the call.
Thank you very much, Dash and the Dex. Now, I think this is going to be a fairly interesting one, because what I was looking at least from the composition more so on the other side of Vivo Kid, it looks like they changed quite a bit here,
Yeah,
especially with the personnel as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be expected with MW0 coming in. But unlike what we saw before with Murray's never playing Killjoy before, like, MW0 had played a bit of Sky. A little bit of Sky. Like 15 games, something like that. And yeah, this is probably one of the strongest teams in EMEA when it comes to their bind. 13-0 in home ground against Gambit. We're going to look at it on that side. And Bone Cold on the Brimstone, or the Bone Stone, as I like to call it.
Oh, God. I think the thing I like as well is, again, I feel like we've been lied to by Mures about his agent composition and the changes, because he was always known for his sort of duelist on this map, and instead he's actually switched things up once again and gone more into that Sage style, giving a little bit more of extra space to Joe to now move over to that Viper. So I'm excited to see what they got cooked up for us. Of course, we still have to premise that this map is heavily favored for Ascend. This is their choice for a very good reason. But can Vivo Key truly pull off the upset?
Iya ya, baru sadar gue.
Betul Sage dong. Kita lihat nih, Fanon terinspirasi nih fix.
Kalau dia menang nih, kalau dia langsung
dipelajarin.
Sage proud.
Lihat Sage naik-naik, Fan.
Iya.
They've gone for this almost old school original strat of just getting yourselves that afterplant out through the bathrooms, but MW0 just looking to fight through CNED. Will trade. You got the paint shell of Zeke making things more awkward. They've still got 3 players standing. They've used the utility that they had, but realistically at this point it becomes so awkward for the remaining players. Zeke with another, leaving it all on to Heat.
Mantap
Pick them all
jiwa.
off, and even if he had, the time wouldn't have allowed it. Ascend off to a flying start with the pistol under their belt. And now, well, we expect a
Habis ini dia tonton ulang nih video, yakin.
Nonton replay.
Getting 2 kills, the first and last in that round. And the other thing I wanted to mention in regards to that, 10 first bloods on the side of Vikings. I keep saying VK.
Yeah, I've been really trying hard not to do that.
Vivo Key, because I
Asik.
down as VK. VKS. Ascend had 12, and Zeke and CNED had 10 of them.
Lihat, Sage paling depan, belakangnya Race.
Gila. 5v4 advantages for the majority of
yang carry
rounds
Sage
in
bukan
Icebox,
Race.
and they still couldn't capitalize. So it's whether CNED on a completely different role. It's what we're used to seeing him on the Sage.
Completely
Like he
different
just plays
role.
Jet all of the time, every time.
Iya.
You want to see
He
not
used
only
to play
Ascend
Jet
still confirming those first
all
bloods,
time.
because that's a good start, but you also have to make sure that those rounds get confirmed at the same time. Otherwise, mental completely goes, and you know what that's like.
I think as well, like, just this map in general, for the players across the board, like, I think it's a very comfortable map for Starzo in particular. I think Zeke as well on the Raze is something I've enjoyed for quite a long time.
Telat. Gue lebih cepet kayaknya.
I still like seeing a little bit Brimmy coming out every once in a while. I know that
Gua
NA
59,
have never really enjoyed it, but
7.
Gue 56.
52, 51, 50,
Buset.
49, sumpah 48, 47.
Gue ke 49 sekarang.
Gue nyalain low latency. 42, 41, 40, 39,
40, 39, 38, 37,
39,
36, 35, 34.
Spek planted.
Spike planted.
Depending on,
Gue refresh.
yeah, it's good.
they could break some doors with it. You know, that's kind of useful
I
sometimes.
really would have wanted to have seen Vivo Keyed. If I had to choose a comp for them, and this is just to see MW0 on the Raze, bear in mind. What Team Liquid run? The Jet and the Raze in their comp on bind.
I think that was something that they also used to run, right? I might just be misremembering, but I feel like that was something that was also a Vivo Key comp in the past.
Yeah, I
but
just
it
want
was
to see it
Muriz instead.
once. I just want to see one
You just
MW0.
want MW0 on that duel.
Sinet! Sinet!
He's on a
Sinet!
quasi.
Sinet!
3 orang.
Ya.
Berani banget ya.
Tadi gue udah mau puji tuh.
Sinet does at least get him closer to having that res. Vivo Keyed.
Di absen, di absen.
At least try and chase down at the very least.
Dapat aja lah.
Like, it's not the biggest deal in the world because they're going to be coming in with rifles, but hey, they could have just got rid of that gun completely and it would have left with a pistol or frenzy or something like that.
What is it with Ascend of throwing guns through the teleporter?
Yeah, I don't want to go back to that. I'm still trying to forget that from last time that they just handed someone a rifle previously, but they've been gifted one themselves this time. It's like pay it forward.
Yeah.
They've received it back.
The boomerang always finds its way back. Now, Ascend favourites for this map. And I want to preface as well by saying MW0 was probably the best player from Brazil in 2020. Mostly played Raze. Everybody wanted to see him at these international events once they came through. He is here, but not on the Raze, so it's kind of like a give and take scenario. But to be fair, he's been holding his own, and the team play for vivo Keyed has been the impressive part. It hasn't just been he delivering the show, he's been doing that, but supplemented by the rest of his team.
Timing.
This is a bait and run. Just see. I will find out if there's anyone there.
Literal knock and door run.
There is. That's not gone well. Especially in a round like this, when you're the ones coming in with the majority of the rifles, that is not the start that they were looking for. They've delivered an extra gun once again to the side of Ascend, and while he's going to have to try and pop off here. Now they are just walking back through, already garnering some control towards
Biar dia bisa
Laptop.
masuk U-Hole apa gimana?
This might just be to leave a snake in the grass. I think it's been expected, it's been spotted, and he is not going to fall for it.
Quite rightly, Keyless, I think this was
Wow.
one of the reasons why we saw Ascend 13-0 in Gambit, is just that Keyless was able to get so many nice lurks, the utility posted towards the site. He isn't falling for it, there's some Astro utility coming out just to break this execute from Ascend.
Lamnya di wall siapa nih?
Dedicated, and stars are going down,
Ojo.
just farming up for
Halo.
hitting
Halah.
MW0. And it's as clean as you can really get considering the
Oh ya, habis syuting apa sih ya tadi ya?
Going down that early. Good
Iya.
turnaround, another example of Ascend
Gua takut
capitalizing
dia
on rounds
pulang
where they
duluan.
have a man advantage.
Kenapa?
And a
Kok
lot of it
takut?
came down to just almost feeding those individual jewels to
Jadi-
heat. Like, as you said, sure, there's a
Waduh.
few pieces of utility
Jadi
here
tadi
and
tuh
there, but if you give this man the
kita ngerasain
opportunity to
sesuatu
pop
yang
off
aneh
1v1,
waktu syuting.
and I think you
Waduh.
bank on him to win the
Chelsea
majority
makin
of the
cakep
jewels.
nggak?
Ya,
Lagi live loh, hey. Wah, nggak ngomong lu ya. Wah, jahat banget. Jahat banget. Gue lupa. Aku lupa. Streamingnya stop. Emergency meeting.
Konten.
Di privat,
Oh my
nanti di privat,
God.
nanti di privat.
Nggak usah, weh. Berani lah.
Clip ya guys, clip guys.
Oh iya, udah bisa clip sekarang, oh no.
Oh no, fuck you.
YouTube udah bisa klip sekarang.
Just at this point, it's
Lu pada
aja.
nonton di mana?
Di
Masing-masing.
Twitch. Masing-masing di
You don't
Twitch.
you want to dedicate enough on those bonus
Ini
rounds,
kursi
but
punya
not
gua
too
nih.
much. So
Oh,
Kenapa
no,
tadi lu apa yang aneh?
Gue mau Genshin dulu.
Boleh udah.
Gue belum Genshin dari pagi. Jadi tadi tuh PC lagi ngerekam kan.
Terus
Ternyata makin cakep pula enggak. Terus apa pinggangnya PC ini ada yang kepegang, ada yang megang ya. Kayak dikangkul dari belakang gitu, tahu nggak sih? Yang pegang dikangkul dari belakang ininya, pinggang.
iya.
Itu lumayan lama tuh sampai gue nengok gue berasa hilang. Sedangkan samping gue Jody, tapi Jody tangan kanan tuh pegang HP.
Waduh.
Ya megang dari kiri.
Iya, tangan kiri yang megang berasanya. Tapi kan tangan kanan gue juga nggak bisa megang ini pinggang kiri dong. Pegang kiri gue berasa. Cuma lu tau gak sih rasanya tuh 3 jari gitu, berasa 3 jari.
Ini beneran berasa.
Beneran berasa. Orang gue sampai ini kok.
Apa?
Penengok ke Jody.
Emang ada orang lain di situ?
Di situ cuman kan syutingnya kan berempat. Bintang lagi ini lagi naik motor. Lagi syuting Chelsea di depan gua. Samping gua Jody kerekam juga.
Naik mobil apa?
Enggak. Di luar ceritanya tuh di luar. Di depan pagar gitu loh.
I think out of any team in this tournament, the most
Cukup
likely
horor
to
sih.
just snowball out of control is probably
Kan GK kan emang.
Tapi yang tetap paling horor kata-kata gue tadi masuk.
Iya di privat. Ih.
Entar gue klip gue masukin ke video.
Easter egg ya. Taruh di video nanti ya. Buat video nanti ya. Nanti taruh di belakang.
Ngomong di 31 nih.
Oh iya 31. Oh iya. Enggak. Ayo.
Gak sadar nih.
Let's go sis. Let's go.
Quest-nya
Press diri sendiri.
Enggak quest sendiri itu.
Oke.
Kemarin Tens dipermalukan. Iya, map utama di Acend ya. Enggak, di Icebox.
Wah, nyangkut.
Iya.
Nyangkut. Really getting anywhere, but the fact that they've still both gone in towards that B site gives away the
sekarang yang main siapa?
Si Net.
Sinet apa?
Acend.
Loh kok smoke-nya Viper Defender kayak gitu deh. Nutup vision sendiri aneh.
Ya, nge-wave saudara-saudara.
Udah.
Itu nggak nge-wave, itu emang Sinet jago.
Oh iya, jelas. Apalagi pakai Sesko lebih jago lagi. Penjilat.
What I really like what they do on the attack of Bind is because they have constant default pressure in some areas.
Muris.
Is going to set up that toxic screen roughly in the same positions. You usually see some kind of go across the side from the
bukan toggle, hold ya.
top right.
Yoi, kayak gua. Bisa jadi ke kanan 2 kali.
Yoi.
Gak bisa cepet itu deh kayaknya kalau
bisa. Udah lah, semua tuh hold aja. Kayaknya harus di toggle. Di toggle kok gak enak banget ngomong. Toggle, apa sih bacanya yang bener?
Toggle.
Bukan toggle.
Toggle.
Ya? Nomor toggle.
Waduh.
Toggle.
Bukan nomor nih.
Wah, gede juga ya.
Apanya?
Nomornya kan. Nomornya. Lagi live, ingat lagi live. Enggak, kalau itu gua gak peduli.
Dasar.
Dia nonton kalau nggak salah enggak?
Aku nggak suka yang bercandaannya.
Orang langsung balik kok tadi. Kok Kelvin Discord emang dia megang apa besok? Yang kamera.
Oh, mau Discord di sini.
Yang pegang OBS siapa? Nggak ada. Oh nggak live ya? Live tapi apa OBS jalan sendiri aja gitu.
Lah.
Habis gimana? Cuma berempat cuy. Mau ngapain? Ya megang switcher harusnya megang OBS juga sih. Kayak gua kemarin. Iwang megang OBS. Megang aja, liatin aja yang penting masih live. Kadang kan mati tuh, harus ada yang ngeliatin.
I think if there is going to be a response in this half, they need to at least do something in this round.
Showstopper as well to maybe allow a bit of a just really
Agak
break
Iwang
on
merasakan apa yang kita
through.
rasakan
The
ya.
defense is going to find a lot of
Ah,
Vixen
shooting.
sneaking up on it as well.
Ah,
The
bukan.
trade's still working out
Oh.
for the favorite
Twitter.
Keyless. Yet again, this is just like the spot that he really comes to life. This A-shot position. And whilst the showstopper was picked up from Zeke, it's not needed. He has just been sat here the whole time, seeing if there was going to be any lurks, any push-throughs, and just outmanned.
Aku jadi bintang tadi ya.
On the A side from Vivo Key, or two Vivo
Tuh tadi sengaja kan yang itu yang lah enggak lu sini.
Enggak lah.
Sini.
Nah,
Enggak tuh
bener kan?
sengaja banget itu loh.
Tapi kan gue nunjukin ke bener kan. Oh itu aman. Ntar gue share fotonya ntar.
Nih. Lu ngadep sana. Ah, tai gue bilang gitu.
Gue share fotonya ntar.
Gue bilang alah
ditunggu hasilnya.
banget. Ini mah gue udah tahu. Di PC mah gue udah mau ngakak tapi udah kelihatan ntar sama dia.
Ditunggu hasilnya.
Untung kita bisa jaga image yang baik.
Iya betul. Imposter ini.
Sus.
They are struggling at the moment. We've seen him in one round manage to pop
Enggak,
off when they pushed into
berarti
his
kalian
crosshair
syuting
and Bone
Amogus.
Cold well.
Still without a kill.
Sebulan setahun sekali. Kaki gue pegel banget.
Shooting gitu.
Go on.
Iya gue juga. Gue pulang makan lagi.
Padahal tadi sebelum syuting udah makan.
Sebelum syuting gue udah beli mic di padahal.
Makan lagi.
Gue beli Nutrisari. Gue mau ke Indomaret. Lah tutup semua.
In previous games in Masters 3, he didn't play
Kenapa deh?
Viper, and Viper is a hard agent.
Jam 10.
Oh, jam 10 udah tutup sih.
I've been doing it all year.
Ya udah gue ke warung dah. Aus banget gila.
Yeah, for sure. I think as well, like we saw
Harus kasih sayang nih. Tadi kata Alex ada sapu itu di sebelahnya Holy Wings.
Iya.
Oh iya?
Iya.
Lu udah tahu Jif?
Gue belum tahu. Oh iya.
Mau ngantri lagi? Yakin? Gak apa-apa sih abis itu kita makannya di ini aja tapi
Di Holy Wings.
di KFC.
Ah saya sakit.
Apa di Women? Apa di Women, Van?
Ada apa? Kenapa gue?
Wah di Women bukannya
Di Lawson.
ada yang lain
Lawson.
di bola matamu.
Women lah.
Lawson.
Ini Women lah.
Lawson.
Yang bulat.
Diam.
Lagi watch party loh, kasihan.
Lagi watch party malah
Time out
dibully.
nih, udah ini Acend menang telak sih.
Yoi.
No, not at all. And an interesting
Valorant
thing that I
Champion
just
1
looked is
sampai
the Jao
12
does
Desember di
Kenapa
Berlin.
DSP-nya ada
It was only when
tanda
we got to
kutip
Masters
atasnya?
3 that they changed
Ini
away from
Nggak tahu.
it, which often
Ini
is a bit
download
of a
apa lagi,
scary
Van?
thing. I often think that if you come into a tournament like this off the back of qualifiers,
Nggak tahu.
change it up.
Tapi
It's not because
tadi gue coba
we were sitting on
download,
it for months and didn't wanna use
dia
it.
nggak jalan.
Expected to get to Masters
Jalan
today.
sih,
Gue
tapi
verifying file integrity lama bang.
ya kan sama gue juga. Makanya tadi gue mau main kan kayak lama banget dah lah.
Main tenis kali, main tenis.
Hah? Jorok.
Jorok.
Nanti itu.
Arcane Sheriff.
Kita lihat skin Fanan apa skin membawa hoki.
Oh iya.
Skin Fanan,
Ayo skin Oni.
paham skin Oni bawa hoki. Oh bawa hoki ternyata,
Oh,
bisa
oke.
nge-kill sih lihat. Bukan nih?
Bukan.
Salah.
Gitu banget sih lihat saya langsung sinet.
Salah gue sama. Oke.
Vixen now is starting to crunch.
Ah.
Zeke is holding on. He's doing relatively well.
Nice.
Dia 20 gue terakhir loh itu.
Situation for Ascend, and he is slowly picking up a gun.
Wah, langsung ke A.
Bisa.
A guys.
Nyampe A itu. Ini tinggal di wall aja gak sih? Udah gak ada nih
Gak ada
wall.
wallnya dia.
Ya nengok Rexnya.
Oh, Receh udah di heal.
Dia nggak tahu.
Nah, wuhuu.
Itu pasti tangan kiri tuh dia, si Jetnya.
It's also considering the buy for Vivo Keed wasn't great in the end, and you're dedicating 2 big ultimates off the get-go. The execute was fine, you'd really take MWZ out the round. I do like the attempt of the wall to slow things. Zeke just been able to hold on here, really not panicking too much. You can see there was a bit of
Enggak, gue liat
all
hasilnya.
performance from him on Icebox. good mental reset.
Terdengar loh.
It's just he had so many first
Masuk.
kills towards
Masuk,
the
Michael.
start of Xbox and then
Masuk.
was the one
Kenapa
being
sih?
left on
Live?
an island, taking a player advantage. Certainly when we saw
Lah,
Ascend's defense, Taki has been
Kenapa sih?
that difference.
Gue disalahin.
Okay, but this could be at least something. We know how strong this operator is from Heat. They're going to force him off.
Gue jam berapa sih? 9 ya?
Has crossed. I don't think he has any idea.
Jam 8, jadi gue datang jam 7.
Actually, for both players, could be a problem because I don't know if Cena would expect.
Ada nikahan lagi ya?
He does seem to be at least
Ada lah.
Gila,
Ini orang iyalah. Gila. Tiap minggu cuy, minggu lalu, minggu ini,
Iya.
minggu depannya lagi.
Gokil.
Gue tuh bisa
kaya sih.
Enggak cuy,
Bakalan ini
minggu depan.
kaya ya.
Nah, tapi 2 minggu depan kan saudara gue nggak ada ngapa-ngapain, gue cuma datang.
Oh iya, datang.
Woi, bukan kelihatan Jis.
Tapi nikahan.
Iya, siapa tahu keluaran.
Kayak gitu.
Full control of B, and I feel like I said they're just looking around like, guys.
Udah siapin jawaban ini meta. Pertanyaan meta.
Pacarnya mana gitu ya? Oh, punya anak. Oh,
Wow.
pertanyaan meta itu.
Pertanyaan meta dari Om dan Tante.
Gue pakai headset sih biasanya.
Oh, pakai headset.
Jadi
biar
like a kid.
pakai headset biar bisa denger step ya.
Wih tuh sini sampai atas itu Van lihat.
Oh iya, sampai atas sono
Nggak tahu,
anjir.
mereka nggak ada yang tahu.
Gak ada yang tahu. Ya.
Masih ada di belakang.
Ya. Masih.
Wah dimakai itu sama Jody masih ganti pisau dulu.
Menang.
Jalan.
Dimarahin tuh sih.
Yes.
Belanja dulu.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Gak apa. Gue tetap ini tapi. Nanti VK-nya di map 3 aja menangnya. Map 3 apa?
Tadi yang
Acend.
Gue menunggu fracture padahal.
And that's just a lovely round from start to finish. Especially from the side of Acend, like CNED really keeping Heat over in that A showers position.
You know, I just put the molly, landed on the spike, we win, no problem. Like it just looks so calm considering how close that round ended up being. Again,
jadi begitu wallnya.
Bukannya emang sama di wall kayak gitu.
Gua wallnya nutupin itu.
Tower Heaven.
Oh.
Iya, bukan nutupin lem.
Karena ada Viper.
Oh iya, ada Viper sih ya.
Enak.
Iya.
Nanti gak gua Viper.
Ya, siap. Oh, siap.
Siap kalah.
Gue. Adalah gue.
Banyak meta yang bisa kayak itu tuh, ngeplan di tali apa di icebox.
Iya.
Oh, yang di atas ya? Itu yang kemarin mau dicoba kan? Saya mau dicoba. Line up-nya bos, line up. Iya itu line up api dan
Kenapa map 2 selalu dibantai ya?
karena map 1 mereka simpan strategi, nggak tahu sih.
Just, I feel one of the noticeable things for Bone Cold especially.
Karena map 2 pilihannya Acend
He
sih.
knows his role and what he should be doing. He
Map 1 kan pilihannya si siapa tuh?
trying to lead with kills or clutch
Vivo.
out in insane stuff. Leave that to
Vivo.
CNED, leave that
Kir.
to Z.
Ini sama OVO kan.
And I think you highlighting just like the Molotov plays, both from Keyless and Bone Cold, they don't need to be the fancy ones. They just have a job to do.
Lihat banget nih bombut.
Viva Kid have been struggling with that, even from Icebox, like the anti-plant and push
Balik.
utility. The lineups weren't quite connecting where they should be.
Bom siapa nih?
Bom siapa nih? Bombut.
Bumbut. Bumbut.
Bombot.
Ketahuan itu di atas. Nah. Atau wall favok itu tuh Van.
Oke. Wall gue.
Iya, wall yang di mid.
Yoi.
Tuh.
Oh my. Rata boy.
Gue cuman ganti 500 lagi.
So far, this has been a
Cuma jadi 500 aja gue.
from Ascend on
Ya
this.
namanya
Just
juga
sort of
bet.
having a good look at some of the
Tau gini
ideas
gue
that they have at the
1.500
very
all in.
least. And maybe not to the same extent of what we saw from Gambit on Breeze per se, but you can start to see at least some of the rounds that have come in and the different faces that they can show. Zeke playing super high contact into metal.
He's just having fun now.
I
think we've got to the point where Ascend have gone, yeah, we can switch things up a little bit because Zeke's not, well, let's be real, if anybody's buying an operator on this team, it's not normally Zeke.
You do have seen it over on the Sage, so it's a bit different, but it's mostly on the defense though that you see that Sage opping. Now some information garnered on A, just a Sage wall being placed in showers as a rotation is going to at least come in from Murray, the Resurrect being available in and around the action. But considering this is such a high line defense from vivo Key just because of these guns, it's really awkward to try and break through, and it's still having some modicum of success.
They managed to garner at least a rifle.
Oh, but waduh.
Wow. Oh, ditembusin wallnya.
Just to make it that little bit worse,
Okay.
he has found another. This round looking at least a little bit better, and there's still one man.
Waduh, masih ada di shower.
He's got to try and stop them here. A kill is necessary, and actually, he's going to be executed as he looks to try and run around the corner. vivo Keyed have read this one excellently, but they need to make sure they convert it. Cned. The spike in. Nice hit from Heat as well, and leaving just that one man standing. He doesn't have to be the hero in any of these rounds so far, but this surely impossible. 20
Ini ronde 11 ya? Oh iya. Ronde 12 habisnya. Cned.
Habisnya half soalnya.
Cned. Waduh. Iya. Habis pelurunya.
Siapa tuh teriak?
Gue. Siapa?
Dari game.
Oh, nggak tahu.
Dari
nggak ada yang denger, lu doang yang denger teriak.
Lu doang.
Dari kemarin lo, Jif. Asli dah.
Tidak.
vivo Key do have some
Gedein deh,
response.
biar
It's not the round you expected it to be on.
Jangan dong.
Yeah, I think as well, the main thing I want to give credit for in this round in particular is actually just the read coming out from vivo Key. Like, of course, he is...
Dia aja ketawa kayak.
Okay, I don't think it's hit
Kenapa tadi
too
begitu?
hard. But yeah, I think the read coming out, especially that
Si
little
Iyad,
play from
Fan,
Vincent,
Iyad,
just denying them enough.
Iya, gue lihat.
Lihat Cned pakai apa, Fan?
Oh, gua OP abis ini.
Jangan ngomong doang.
I really do like that they bring out those kind of guns to surprise, breaking.
Tapi final round.
Terus dia baikin lagi ke Phantom ya.
Oh, udah balik Phantom lagi.
They've done a really good job of just shutting down Heat.
Oh iya, udah balik Phantom lagi ya.
Across the rounds, and really because of the one-sidedness of this half, we've not really seen the operator out on the side of vivo Key all that much, especially Heat.
Yeah, I think the few times he's had it, he's been battered. Like, it's just not worked out for him at all.
This is, again, just like that no information that vivo Key have, like already using that gravity well.
They both use Seekers.
Yeah. It was just very early utility coming out of Vixen. He has no clue. They're still going to try and fight it. And Murray's, well, he's harder to move. Doesn't really have any more slow orbs. He's just going to try and stand and face. This is the teleport over from vivo Key.
Pala.
Better from Joe. He's managed to isolate a kill. Keeping
Isang
himself
batu pasti
alive,
stepnya.
and Zeke hasn't actually been able to spot him.
Waduh, ada api, Brimstone.
Just hiding behind that utility, and the Viper finally comes online. Two impactful kills that could make the difference to get them their third round onto the board. Lots of utility.
Di dua pakai snack
Be pulled, but still manages to get himself the bomb.
Wah, 3-9.
At least getting himself a small lifeline in this first half, but it was still a dominant half from Ascend.
What they say about 9-3?
Takut ya.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's an irrelevant scoreline. There's no superstitions around it. And now Ascend
Break.
defense. It's been par for the course for what you expect from Ascend, and vivo Keyed tempered a little bit by the EMEA side.
Well, I know that Dash said he really loves himself a close 6-6 half. So we're going to throw it over to him to see what he thinks of this one.
At least it's a difference of 6 rounds, so we can keep in tandem with that. Well, Evo Keed cobbles together a few rounds at the very end, a dominant first half by Acend, and that's what we want to see out of this squad on their best map, Bind.
Yeah, it looks like a bit of a fire back, maybe map 1. Taking some time to warm up a little bit, get in the groove. I think one of the biggest changes, though, for the squad is Zeke looks comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, what have I got here? Round 10? If we were to go back to a round and you wanted to see Zeke having fun, I think the casters put it best. At this point, he's having fun. There was one point where he picked up an op and he's like, all right, raise up. I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to show you a brand new meta of raise and how we rock around the map. I don't know, see a couple of boost packs with a quick scope. I don't care what he does with it, but by that point in that scoreline, Zeke was on par with what I would have expected. And we did ask at the very start of the day, who do we want to step up behind CNED? I said, Zeke, we got it.
Yeah, I'm not so convinced by the raise up, but by the kills, by the kills he's putting up, I'll give him that. 15 kills up onto the board, and where we said it was all about CNED at the top of the day, but needing somebody to step up behind him, it feels like that's exactly
and this is really good to see when CNED is going to be shifting over to the stage. This is something that he does play quite a bit of, so you know, anybody panicking, not seeing him on jet, this isn't uncommon, but you need to be able to have somebody who really takes that aggressive position and can be relied on. And seeing Zeke being able to get back into form, perform at a level that we really anticipate from him with this race is solid.
No, but this doesn't just feel like, okay, it's Acend on Bind, it's their map, so that's why they're popping off now. It does feel like they've found a different gear. Something else is firing as well.
Oh, I'm glad you brought it up, my friend, because I was sitting here going over the accuracy of Acend from last map to this map, and I hate to break it to the Acend fans out there, but last map their accuracy was horrific. They were taking more than 10 bullets a mag just to secure a kill, and by that time most of them were dead, or they had to back up and reload. It was really lacking the accuracy. I tell you what though, I'm sitting here watching the Acend boys on this map, and by the 6th bullet, the job's done. The headshot accuracy is on point.
So finding some rhythm, and of course maybe, hey, some of that is comfortability.
Orang baik banget. Makanya orang baik banget.
19 tahun ya.
Emang iya?
Iya, 19 tahun.
But now it becomes a question about
polos gitu
can Vivo do anything now on the other half of the map. They're going to have to put together a pretty stellar performance.
Kalem gitu.
Iya, kalem gitu. Ini Nats versi ini aja.
Versi Turki.
Versi Acend. Hah? Versi apa?
Nats versi Turki.
Iya.
Orang Turki dia.
Versi Turki. Kan senyum-senyum juga kan kalau menang.
Who put up again that 4K right off the top, and I gotta wonder if he can find something similar. Also, actually, I want to bring something up, and this is something we talked about while the casters were in the midst of it. Ryan, contextualizing Joe on the Viper, right? I think that's a really big importance because sometimes it's easy to just look at the scoreboard and say, hey, this guy's not finding the kills, therefore he's not performing poorly. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, I really want to shout out to Ryan.
Kalau yang HP kayaknya dia lengkung-lengkung gitu.
He's also a leader, and that is
Enggak.
where you'll generally see leaders is at the bottom of the leaderboard to begin with already, but he also has an extra added pressure of the utility he has to use. He's not used to using it. He's also got a core, he's also got a shot core that is so much on
Berdiri.
All of Vivo Kid is putting in, and I would say even though Acend won that map, they themselves have a more well-rounded, synergized roster at the moment compared to Acend.
So I would then bring in the question where maybe if it's less critical of the individual performance of the player, there might be some criticism to the agent choice. If you can't find that comfortability with the utility from a leadership position and still put up suitable numbers, you know, then maybe it's too soon to be jumping to that Viper. You know, should you have stuck to something a little more familiar?
Bayangin aja lu dibilang Samuel tuh sponsor.
You know, 5K shifting off of the arena that he was so comfortable on, something like the Sky, where he wasn't that comfortable, he wasn't as well versed on it.
Sponsor nama Samuel dari mak bapak gue.
If anything else,
sponsor gereja nih.
Your IGL to be the most comfortable, that way they can focus on the gameplay, make sure that they're making correct calls.
Yeah.
You might be seeing this pop up on your screens here. I just want to give some context to viewers at home. A little unusual to have tech bots coming out of a half monitor issue.
Bang, baterainya habis bang
We've
headsetnya.
got QC working on that right now. As soon as we get it up and running, we'll be diving back into the second half of play. Momentum was a big thing that we talked about in the first map, and it feels like it's
kayak dosen ya. Yang bukitnya ini. Bukitnya anak baik. Si Sinet si anak baik.
Sinet si anak baik. You know that that momentum for the squad.
There's a lot of
Oh, Nats kan mirip kayak Dylan
guys
kan.
Zero right now.
Iya,
There's a lot of
Dylan.
guys. And I know that again.
Si Nitro anak baik kan.
Pressure at
Dylan
9
parah.
times out of 10 as a negative thing. Sometimes players
Udah
can
pakai
use it.
versatility kan
I
dia
saw him
ininya,
stand up last
jaketnya.
map in one of those
Iya,
plays
bener.
and push ascend into a
Dilanda
timeout,
masalah.
and every player was
Waduh.
looking stressed after what he did. All he needs to do is cool, calm,
Wow,
collect. It might not be
semua
that
screennya
powerful.
kelihatan.
That's fine.
Iya,
It might be
lima-limanya.
roster.
Bahkan muka-mukanya kelihatan, jadi
That's
kalau misalnya ada
fine.
mukanya tegang kayak
Step up with what
santai
you
bos,
have to do with
santai
your
gitu.
Iya,
utility and
santai,
things
bro.
will get done.
And
Okay,
even if it's
bro.
close, right?
Yep.
You want and you drop the map, you want to push them. You want to push ascend and remind them that you can challenge them, even if this goes all the way to map 3. We're just about ready to dive into the second half, so we're back over to Ryan and Tom for the call.
Thank you very much to the desk. And a great fill as well, you know. It's always good to hear them like talk through everything that we've sort of seen in the
Berarti
last, especially when it
tinggalkan
was
pas
as
lagi
dominant
kerja,
for
ya.
Ascend as we saw, like the last couple of rounds almost
Pizzanya
giving
masih
just that
ada.
little bit of life. Now, Ryan, what I want to say though is going onto the attacking side, you got a new comp, you got some new ideas. I feel like a lot of that now comes down to the attack rather than maybe that defense.
It's just
gila,
naturally
agresif.
oh, we see this team using this Viper line, for example. Let's just copy that, but maybe not really knowing or necessarily understanding some of the approaches that you could take. Saying that though, Joe's found a lovely bit of pocket space when it comes to this A control, and it's keenly watched by Keel as he has his
Wah,
suspicions.
flanknya
but he also wants to
gila,
try and
agresif
control
banget.
as well.
Kayaknya nggak
This
ngeliatin.
is a nice
They've
little
trapped them.
crunch.
Yeah, they've trapped them in. They
Lah.
know. Wait, what?
Spike?
That.
Dimainin.
Oh, no, they are. They're going to run it all the way back, but they don't know that the players have run across.
Dimainin.
From a retake A to a retake B in a
What
matter
is
of
this game?
seconds. And actually, MW Zara
Kalian
has
pikir
caught
saya
killers
plan
as he
D? Ah.
attempts to
Huh,
rotate. It's
salah
a
besar.
bold strategy. I'm not sure if it was intended, because sending the spike through first definitely had its risks, but it has put them in an excellent spot.
Look where MW0 is as well. Like, he's keeping Starzo in an awkward position, but knows that he needs to move away.
Wah.
He needs to
Itu
help out his team in his
Masuk
post
side,
line. Bone Cold,
terus ada yang nge-flank
help him get up onto the high ground. The flash is a bit awkward.
defendernya.
Makes it awkward.
What?
Vixen traded out from Zeke, and Starzo now holding onto the site. MW0 blocked off by this wall. I think he can get around it though.
Lah,
Oh, wait,
ya,
they
ya.
might have to at this point, 'cause they're just
Dia nggak tahu cara loncatnya.
holding it all the way, and no one gets there in time.
Yoi.
Ascend, it looked like they were done after that rotation
Yeah.
came back to be
Mati.
all the players in the
Parah,
right
parah.
place
Nice
Itu
try
pada-
banget, tapi strateginya mantap
and
sih.
instead,
Tapi itu
Ascend
maksudnya
just-
brimstone-nya kan lewat ya
MW0,
dengan mudah.
okay, there wasn't a gap in the wall to
Bahkan
sneak
timnya sendiri
around,
nggak tahu
but he
cara
really sort of
ngelewatinya,
held
lucu
off on
juga.
just trying to break it to an extent. Catch her by surprise, but it
What
was
game
a
is this?
mental round in regards to where everybody ended up in the end. And Starzo just holding close, holding onto this site, and eventually getting that defuse in. The fact that even a bit of the wall wasn't broken by the time the defuse came in clearly shows that MW wasn't necessarily expecting it to be done and dusted like that.
Yeah, I also think just the reaction shot that came out of Zeke as he walks out was just disgusting. It definitely looked like he's on point in this map, and while what looked like the glimmer of hope has now fallen away. Now, they are forcing into this one, Ryan, and they've invested into a couple of Bulldogs. And definitely not the most common of weapons, but it will give them a range advantage over the defenders who might not expect it to be coming. They do still have to be careful,
Duh,
though.
kena tag kok.
I got a little bit of Astro utility to force him out, but considering this is not really all that much like the utility being forced up, it means that Astro util is so important. Another bit going to be used, and now Starzo pushing through. This is what you want to see, just using that utility to peek out, catch a kill, and dismiss. And considering vivo to constantly pushing through shot with no split, they don't really have a leg to stand on, even if this spike does get
Hemat
planted.
pada di situ tuh.
They're looking to try and hold them in position as they wrap back around already. Starzo finding another into the round. He's got Bone Cold alongside him, but the trade's
udah.
coming back.
Susah itu.
Slapped onto Heat again. A few opportunities in the clutch, hoping to try and
Kecuali dia muter ke B.
someone out into swinging.
Kecuali dia muter ke B.
They know they have
Benar,
the
benar.
advantage at
Ke
this
B.
point. Is he going to try and sneak his way through to B?
30
He
seconds.
does
OTW,
have time.
OTW, OTW, cepet.
Teleporter. I don't think anybody
No
will
time,
be able
no
to
time.
beat him there.
Wah,
but
flanknya maju
it's a
dong.
duel
Oh
first.
enggak,
He
dia
wants
mau
to try
lewat
and
CT.
isolate one of these players, try and stop them
Oh,
from
enggak.
swinging behind him. But
Yeah.
while he's doing all of
Wah,
this,
dimajuin dong.
Bone Cold is slowly making his way through. And these
Gila,
things are
insecure
just
banget
not
nih orang
working
nih.
whatsoever.
Insecure
Zeke's
parah.
just holding the line, although he's been
Iya.
no idea that Bone Cold is in from
Dari
behind.
Acer.
We spoke about his
Dia
individual
bingung.
play. Hasn't
Iya,
been the
bingung dia.
greatest in this game,
No,
but
no.
the impact from Bone Cold definitely has been there.
Sama
Not
gue
too
juga.
fast on the rotate that he gets isolated
Iya,
in a
Bang.
duel. Zeke as well, just
Tapi kayaknya kalau dia TP pun
running into this. Considering this was a forced as well from
Bentar
Vivo
dulu, lihat.
Keed.
Yeah.
And money's
Oh,
not going to
makin
be
cakep.
good. It was just like a last-ditch attempt. And it
OTP
almost
kayak
worked
kalah
out for a
cepet
few
sih.
of those
Racer
rounds. We
bisa
saw
nyampe
Icebox really going the way
CT2
of Vivo
sebelum
Kid.
dia masuk
But I
keluar
like that
hookah.
Zeke, we saw some close
Iya sih.
moments, but we also just saw some smart decision-making to
Ini di mana
not
sih di
give
buy nih?
Heat those 1v1
Buy.
kills. Yeah. Really put Heat in his back pocket there.
Apalagi nggak ada hookah
Now we
selain
got
baik.
what is going to be another force buy. There is a rifle invested in onto Starzo. He's also got his Seekers
Hookah.
with the amount of kills he's managed to get in
Wih.
the early rounds. So
Guardian super mesti tuh.
it's going to leave them
Guardian nih bos.
in a tougher spot, that's for sure. Still, though, it's not that different in terms of the actual investment. Like, both teams coming in with at least a
Oh
rifle
gitu
or
sih
two.
net, oke.
Both teams with an okay amount of utility. I do think maybe that's where Vivo Kid are a little bit
Ah,
further
ketemu nih,
behind.
ketemu nih,
The
ketemu.
fact is they're
Yeah.
basically
Yeah,
forcing
Zik,
into
Zik,
this game. If
Zik.
they lose this round, they're going to have to do the same again just to not
Okay.
lose completely.
Masih
Well, we
sabar.
might not see a
Oh,
full buy from them
tahuan.
whatsoever.
I don't think, considering you're looking at stats, Vivo Kid's Ecos
pas banget nih. Dikejar, dikejar.
They're gonna have to really make it work now if they want to put Ascend under that pressure. But
Nah,
this
di
is
flash.
just experience winning out.
What?
A little bit manic, but that's what you kind of expect from both these teams at this point.
Oh,
It actually peeks
Aduh.
back in off the edge of the smoke.
Ya bomnya di situ lagi, duduknya di sini.
A trade back and
Di
forth.
long.
Spike is down
Spike-nya
on
di
the other
long.
side of the map, so this
Di long.
attack currently coming in onto A is almost just to try and clear things out a little.
Guardian
mana
tuh,
Guardian?
He was so
Guardian nih
clear.
bos. Iya.
Double bulldog aja
Hai.
Jeff, lebih murah bulldog.
Double dog, double
I feel
dog.
like Joe's just gonna
Wah udah, ini udah tilted banget sih Jeff.
Iya, kayak yang kemarin.
Iya, laut
Tilted.
13, welcome to the club kata Jitu.
in this half.
Kata Mixwell, welcome to the club.
Bulldog doon.
It wasn't really like the 200 IQ lineup as well. It
Who
was
let
just close
Bulldogs
enough.
out?
Push me.
Ya.
Yeah.
Waduh,
Yeah.
lagi
It was
mabok.
smart enough in
Lagi
the end.
mabok
And
teman
that's
kita
sort
lagi
of
mabok.
looking at it as well. The eco rounds
What the dog
Vivo
doing?
Keyed. Granted,
What the
there wasn't
dog
really
doing?
that many. Were pretty decent in the end. But now it's really has to be
Subway
that.
bukanya
The
kapan?
last 3 rounds they've just tried to buy up and it's
Nggak
really
tahu.
sort of following into a sense.
Tew,
To be
tew,
fair
tew,
though, if Ascend
tew,
lose this
tew,
round,
tew,
we see
tew,
Vivo Key
tew,
getting
tew,
4.
tew, tew,
The money isn't great considering it's come down to a lot of like 1v2s, 1v1s.
At the same time, they now need to win.
Copyright.
rounds in a row just to survive the match.
You never know. We
Subway
saw
server
Fiore
kan?
yesterday.
I don't.
Wow.
We have Subway
They
at home.
lost.
Subway at home.
Subway at home.
Teng, 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 teng.
Dikejar- Itu tutorial dikejar polisi ya?
Iya.
But I like your optimism, right? You know what? It's not what I'm used to.
Bikin graffiti di kereta.
Oh kayak
terus
gitu,
dikejar.
Van.
Oh gitu. Ya, ya, iya. Oke, oke.
Nggak masuk gitu.
Masuk lemnya masuk.
Being able to just wrap around like this because there's been zero
Lemnya masuk.
showers pressure coming in for Vivo.
Oh,
They
tapi
just 5
di
steps
Divoing,
through
Divoing.
one part and really Ascender ready to
Divoing?
just smash this one to bed.
He's just running in behind them, not even trying.
Ya.
Ah, dapat satu doang.
Damage, but doesn't take the kill.
Jatahnya Joy.
He's bought
Eh.
some extra time. The shotgun doing damage.
Waduh, waduh.
The trade's coming back
Kok tiba-tiba jadi 2-1?
And it's
Ah,
like
Iya,
to Joe.
tiba-tiba.
Gigi, mati.
Mati, mati. Iya, GG
Dia kalau maju kena,
game.
maju kena api,
Will
kiri
be
kena
that
bom.
defusal. The map is done. Ascend.
Ya,
GG
kita,
game.
balik modal.
Moving
Alhamdulillah.
into Breeze. Somewhat as expected.
Map 3 kan, Jif?
Wanted to
Bener,
see
Jif. Map
from a
3
couple of
pasti.
these EMEA teams that have gone
kalah
and
dong
sort
berarti
of
udah.
struggled.
Hah?
Really
Belum
so
tentu.
far, Gambit going down,
Polanya kan gitu.
Secret first, the
Kemarin
response
juga.
was there, and it's the same for Ascend. Maybe it wasn't as tight as play as we expect, but considering the circumstances, Ascend really needed to win that
Mana
map.
nih? Hadiah gua
Otherwise,
mana?
if they go to the elimination game against this group,
Lo
it's
menang
gonna
udah
be
minta
very
hadiah.
awkward, but now they at
Ini
least
kan
have
udah,
Breeze.
Paul gue menang.
Especially
Ih, didadai.
obviously we've still got Envy and X10
Eh,
who are
mau
probably
dada-
the most
mau
unknown
dada.
of any team in this
Yo, cuma
tournament.
700 doang.
Enggak,
Jif.
personality.
To be heading down into that lower bracket
Gue mau
matchup.
dada.
And now that's
Block.
the exciting thing about this match is we're going to head into the middle ground.
Oh, mau
This
yang
is a map that
dada-dada.
both teams are feeling pretty
Hey!
confident on. It's
Hey,
one of the
hey.
more
Gue baru
realistic
paham.
ones I could see
Waduh,
going either
tidak
way.
tahu
And it's
konteks.
also where we're going to get ourselves some more
Lebih
Jet
baik
V
tidak
Jet,
tahu.
which I think is always
Betul
gonna be
skill.
exciting.
Oke.
Especially when we're looking at the last time that we saw these guys in main international
Singlet si
tournaments.
anak baik.
Breeze was the new map. I'm pretty sure it was the most banned map in that tournament, right? With Fracture coming in
Go,
with a
go,
7-map map pool, this is a map that either people need to continue to ban or they need to up their game, right? So I think Breeze is going to be pivotal to the team that wins champions in the end. Not Fracture, but Breeze. It's just maintaining that to a certain point. And much like we've seen from Icebox in the past, meta is pretty set, but you have to have those fundamentals sorted. And it's a very different pace to what we saw in Icebox.
Yeah, I think as well, we've also seen from this map kind of what we premised at the beginning, like Icebox had to be a victory here in the first one. We saw them on that more puggy style individualistic map, Brian, and it didn't quite go the way that was expected. Do you think they have a chance on Breeze?
I mean, he with
Breeze finalnya
on a map that is long distance. Mechanically on Icebox, it was Vikings. Vivo Keyed winning out again.
Susah nih
But I
Breeze.
think that when you're looking at all of the
Gua pernah lihat
Vikings, like
mereka main di
Furia,
Breeze sih.
it's not only who's going to win this series, but it's also which is the best team in Brazil right now, because they're all looking pretty decent.
That is true.
Even if we do see Vivo Keyed losing in the end, I like this upgrade from what we saw from Berlin, because a lot of those issues, the inexperience, the pressure, that seems set. And this is enough of a team to make things awkward. Let's see what Acend do. It's all on them.
He wants to know the best in Brazil. I want to know who's the best in this series. So let's kick it off to a break, and then we'll be back soon to decide this series.
He doesn't need to zoom in. Get out of here!
Would have to be an ace. Refusal. Take from the opposite picture in picture.
This is his world, and we're just living.
Kok gua auto tetap kebuka ya kayak gue aja. Ini nggak ada.
Sabar ya. Udah nggak selalu ada buat lu.
Kok Hawkeye kayak gitu sih filmnya?
Kenapa?
Kayak nonton Home Alone gue.
Yang mereka dikejar di mobil tuh bagus banget kameranya.
Iya, yang dari dalam mobil kan?
Iya itu keren banget.
Tapi maksudnya kekeluargaan banget ya.
Gue sampai lupa ada kameramen jadinya. Anjir one take
pakai iPhone itu. Kok Jivan pakai kamera? So kau kecil lagi, Jiv?
Iya, pakai laptop.
Oke.
Mic-nya jauh di sini di kamera.
Oh.
Pakai headset dong.
Cupu. Headset lo ada mic-nya.
Ya, gue nggak pasang kamera lagi.
Gua nggak bisa, lagi OBS.
Noob.
Nggak bisa gua OBS.
Noob.
Waduh. Kalau
Welcome back to Champions, where we're going to 3, and it's Acend who brings us there easily with a 13-3 bind. It wasn't a long second half. They just strung them together, and they're pushing us right along.
I mean, we were speculating why Bind was even in the map veto to begin with, why it wasn't banned out by Vivo Keyed, and they learnt their lesson here. We've doubled down on the fact that, and I hate to say you're right, you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to turn around and go, oh, look at me, I was right, you were wrong. That's not a nice thing to have to say.
Yeah.
Because I think Vivo Keyed has upgraded themselves exponentially, but they took a really big fall here on Bind.
Yeah, I feel a little let down because I became such a believer. I was like, surely they have something planned. They're gonna do something a bit different. They're gonna pop on Bind. They're feeling confident. They leave it in. Now I'm wondering if maybe it was a little bit of an oopsie. They forgot to ban it away. I don't know. Either way, it was great from Acend.
It was fantastic from Acend. Obviously, it was a dominant scoreline, so a lot of these numbers aren't going to surprise you when you take a look at this. But I am looking at 3.3 KDA, and that's pretty gross. So, again, we talked about the person who needed to step up next to CNED, and that was Zeke. He's the MVP this time around. But CNED also as a player, and this was brought up by the casters, the kind of guy who can go from the Jet to the Sage, one of the more versatile, I'm still going to classify him as a duelist player because that's primarily what he is, but to have that flexibility on maps and to open up a player like Zeke to be able to play the Raze as well on the map where he wants to, that's something that should be celebrated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a night and day difference. I know that everybody basically has their comfort zone when you're playing. I myself, when I'm not playing Raze, when I play the game, I feel like I'm just absolutely terrible on it. And then I go back to playing Raze, I'm like, oh, I'm actually kind of decent at this. And that was shown right here. Zeke looked very comfortable this whole way through.
If I'm not playing Killjoy, I'm as useful as a Killjoy turret.
So you get it every now and then. You get a kill and you
get one
utility
out of me if I'm not playing
Hah?
Killjoy. Either way,
Iya,
I'm
gelap.
not even close to the level of the players
Hah,
on
kok
this
gelap ya?
stage.
Tadi
And
nggak
they're
gelap
now
padahal.
looking at Breeze.
Udah,
I
udah.
mean, speaking of Killjoy, Muritz moving to the Sage. How
Gelap
did that
nggak?
go for them?
Udah.
Not so well.
Oke.
So good.
Not so
Sekarang
It
gelap.
wasn't very good. I understand he's
Iya.
utility based.
Oh,
He really didn't pick up the
ngerti
size
gua.
needed.
So let's
Nggak,
talk
jadi
Breeze, though, because
Google Chrome
Vine
itu harus
went to
di paling yang full screen
expectation.
satu-satunya
And
lah.
it is now
Sisanya tuh
Vivo
nggak boleh
Key's
full
gotta
screen.
recover
Tadi
from
gue
the
full
loss,
screen.
yes, and there's gonna be that
Apa namanya?
aspect of this, but both of
Google
these
Chrome
teams
yang lain.
should be happy
Dia
with the
nutup.
third map, the one that they're about to step onto.
Yeah.
Nah, gue bahkan full screen ini loh
It's a
sekarang.
7-2 record for the
Discord
Sound
nutup
Ascend,
kan?
and it's a 5-0 for Vivo Key. Both of these
Masalah
teams have
itemnya
had
itu
strong
cuma videonya.
performances there,
Iya,
but
nggak
it's
ngerti gue
still
juga.
not really any closer to knowing who's going to be able to
Kayaknya
take the
hardware
series because it
acceleration-nya
does seem
nyala.
very half and half.
Nggak tahu ya.
For people who want maybe a little bit of context, how can we
Pilih
compare
siapa nih?
how good Ascend is on Breeze to how good Vivo Kid is on
Gua nggak tahu
Breeze?
sama sekali.
Well, a couple of teams,
Ah,
maybe the team that would
Acer.
most surprise people.
Tiga, ya 13-9, 13-3.
On Breeze in one of
Gua
their last few
gua
games.
VK
So I
deh.
think that's something to
VK.
compare it to if you want.
Gua VK tapi 50 aja.
Well, this is one of their best maps here for Vivo
300
Kid, but
dong.
how good is a
Nggak
best
mau.
map in a region
Acend
that's
1000,
growing?
let's go.
It's pretty damn good.
It's a big question to be answered. Breeze, of course, as we've talked about many times before, a more open map, and this is where we do highlight duelist
1000,
players
let's
like
go.
Tens, players like CNET, and players like Heat, who are going to need to see start finding some more of those kills in the duels, much like he did on Icebox, to hopefully carry the team over the line here in a third and final map.
Looking at the average ACS here for Heat on this particular map, both defensively and attacking. Don't worry, we're not just in the attack for the duelist all the time, it's fine. But he hits top dog on both sides. He's a man who knows what he needs to do. He's got an objective on his defense and attack, and he knows how to make it strong. One thing I will say, however, is that you have to be careful about being readable here on Breeze. If you're going to bait and fake, and they know what's coming, players are there to be able to deal with this. So I'll be looking towards those agent compositions to see how they're going to deal with that.
Well, I like that you call out that he's a top performer on both sides of the map. Fact of the matter is, they're starting on the attacking side. So with that option available to them, they say, hey, we're again gonna kind of maybe try and set the pace like we were able to do in the first map on Icebox, this time on the attacking side. You know, I'll recall to people at home,
Never forget
Gambit
you.
with a 13-0 run on Breeze, they started attacking half. And so you can
They
just
say that
and make it difficult for the defense to find how they want to split up their manpower, right? It was a choice of 4-1 in most cases. We've seen teams like Sentinels lean more towards a 3-2 split across those, you know, sites. What's the answer going to be for Ascend on a defensive half rather, when you've got some, you know, some very good gun users on the side of Vivo Keyed with, you know, MW0 and Murray is right behind.
Yeah, it's a tough order for both of these squads, and you know, again, trying to figure out like who's going to be able to come out on top is really rough to say. But with that attacking start, you kind of do favor Vivo Key to at least be able to finish the first half. You know, maybe in an 8-4, 7-5 type of position. But we have to see what the agents are going to be. I'm curious to see if they're going to be changing things up from the last time they played this map, which was against Seda Division.
Well, you asked, the teams will deliver. We're diving into Prime Gaming Agent Select. And we have our answers. We got a KO over on the side of Ascend
Prime
for
Gaming.
Zeke. Looking at the Vivo Keyed side, because I think that's where we have a lot of questions with MW0 in the lineup. He's back onto the Sova. Makes sense to me.
Yang beda cuman,
got heat on the jet.
yang beda cuman ini ya, Reina sama Keo ya.
Reina,
From the
Keo.
leader himself, he's backing it out, he's putting it back in,
Yep,
and he goes, you know what, I'm going to bring the Cypher. I asked, what were you going to bring to deal with the fact that there might be a bait and switch, there might be a flank, which on Bind, Ascend was the only team to flank. Vivo Key didn't flank once. Guess what, you've got that on lock now, you know that's a problem, you've switched an agent in to deal with it.
The flexibility of Vivo Key. Joe now on that Cypher. You got Murray's on to the duelist in Reina. The players are ready to go. It comes down to this. All or nothing on Breeze. Back over to Ryan and Tom.
I am looking forward to this one. A chance for the Brazilians to truly upset one of these rosters. I feel like the Vikings' victory was somewhat expected or would have been a closely contested one. This would be Brazil truly putting themselves on the map. And it seems like Ascend are not just going to sit back and play what they have before, Ryan. It's coming in a little bit spicy.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about it as well is
Kukira kamu berhenti untuk singgah, tapi kamu berhenti untuk istirahat lalu pergi lagi sampai gini masih.
It almost feels counterintuitive because Breeze is such a big map. The lineups from KO often more like
Si Acib mah. Apa foto doang.
Iya.
Itu kenapa sih? Kenapa cuman foto? Ngeselin banget. Dapat tuh Cim. Sudah sampai sini.
I think that a lot of this is going to come down to the
Wow,
utility
iya ya.
cycling of Zeke. Like he's going for the early information to see where.
Iya, pojok pojok tuh, mojok tuh, mojok. Iya,
kakinya
iya,
keren.
Iya, naik. Iya.
Goib dia udah sampai sini. Gainanya udah sampai situ.
Hebat.
Ya, kau nggak boleh lepas.
Puggy style. These individual players looking to try and pop off, and this time it's Joe finding a couple, but again, it always seems to swing back into these 2 versus 2. The overhealed Mur is in a pretty good spot to try and find something here.
Kenapa gue nyasar si Net?
And now it's onto those in-game leaders facing off for who has the biggest brain, who can bring home this round. And Joe, he's in the front. He's gonna find the headshot to close. 3 kills in the pistol.
Sengit nih kayaknya overtime. Feeling gua.
Mari overtime.
Prediksi gua overtime. Overtime 13-15.
Asik gue kalau lower bracket ada tim yang majornya join.
Yang apa?
Di lower bracket ada tim gede join kan keren juga.
Terus dia pulang ya di lower bracket. Ini kalau dia kalah, belum ya? Itu Acend tuh kompak sama siapa sih? Envy ya?
Ini grup apa lagi?
Seingat gue ini grup terakhir kan? Envy sama Extend sama abis ini.
Soalnya Envy belum tanding.
Envy ntar abis ini kan?
Iya.
Oke, nanya sih pedih ya.
Pedih.
Muris.
Ampun kena mata.
Orang dari tadi ngeding mulu.
This one he's taking front and center stage, and we definitely know he has the ability to. On the other side, how can they make this costly? 1 kill already, it's not bad.
Ngedang-ngeding.
Anything more, and you'd say Ascend have done well here.
Kau mengedang-ngeding.
Aduh.
He had the biggest performance on that.
Oh, what kind of lineup is that?
You can't flash yourself in. Well, you can flash yourself in.
As he flashes himself in.
Just as I say that.
Ya.
But it's not like you can
saving ya?
As the tip of the spear.
Harusnya enggak dong. Harusnya mati sama bom.
Harusnya enggak. Iya, dia mau mati sama bom deh.
You don't want to be doing that anyway. Or do you?
Ya, mati sama musuh.
Haus darah sih, haus darah.
I'm sure they would have liked it to go somewhere else. Nonetheless, 2-0.
You know what discussion we're gonna about to
looking strong, looking strong.
There's an ultimate.
Average.
Best in the game.
No.
Pedih banget itu.
Or Kukuka, same thing.
I think it's just something that we're all in agreement of in the EMEA.
No.
No. Put words in Lofar's mouth.
For sure. See, we were talking about the 70% Vipers pick. You had a 90% win rate whenever you use a neural theft.
Padahal si John baru beli pisau, jarang main.
Iya. Dia sibuk pindahan sih.
What?
Apa Juan? Gila.
Just to spam through. Obviously this is the bonus.
Goib. Woi, goib.
Wah, goib lagi. Goib lagi.
Gripnya aja.
Ace. Ya.
Grip senjata di upgrade.
Emang harusnya nggak di upgrade?
Jadi aimnya bagus.
Waduh, itu kan random ya. Tiap round berubah. Siapa tahu abis ini nggak dapat grip. Pakai center lagi, bukan pakai net dot.
Apa itu sih net? Apa?
Pegangannya enak itu.
Wow. Fun. Wow.
Would have been a nice little ace for CNED.
Wah, CNED goib. Wow.
That full buy is coming in like you say. The
wow, fun.
I'm curious to see what Muir is
fun.
going to be pushed into the cave position.
Wow.
Kenapa?
Actually, a stars even. I'm so used to it being keyless.
Oh wow.
Itu buat kirim foto.
Only using that poison cloud, saving a toss the screen for a retake. I've seen a lot of teams start to do that.
Di mana?
Oh. Di KDM.
Leaving that open space. That is the thing with playing this combination of KO and Sobi. You can clear
sayang banget ininya HP.
Maunya apa ini? Mau Barbara DPS. Dah.
Lah ini
Bikin Barbara DPS sama?
lah ini elektro cuy.
Iya gak apa-apa bikin aja.
Gila, crit damage crit rate.
Empat maiden satu ini. Udah. Bikin. Kesel gue.
Sekali dia charge 1 juta.
Iya. See it again. Oh my god.
Wah, abis ini harus ditraktir sih sama teman-temannya, yakin gue.
Iya. Ya, nggak jadi traktir
abis ini
guys.
Sinet pasti minta Kintan sih, yakin sih gue.
Minta
Enggak sih, itu Yosua yang kita mintain.
Kenapa?
Tanggal 11 guys, tanggal 11. Maksi
ya.
Gue udah lapar dari sekarang.
Wow. Ya udah sana. Dulu. Kintan duluan sana.
Iya kan nanti nikahan kan dapat duit lagi mungkin, nggak tahu ya.
Iya.
Iya buat Kintan.
Iya.
Si kaya, Natalan kaya.
Gue langsung kayak yang SpongeBob yang orang kaya tuh yang mulutnya monyong.
Oh iya tahu. Yang dikelilingin orang-orang ntar. Nanti gue jadi Patrick. Nah, dilupain.
Ya, udah biasa ya.
Nah, iya udah biasa.
Itu ngomongin Patrick kan?